today is today, right? The Kokta Minister, Valenkosi Glabisa, I chatted to him a few days ago. He made it clear that deadlines will not be extended, right? How does this relate to your constituency, the African Diaspora Forum, and the people that you represent?
Thank you very much, Brother Ashraf, for giving us once again this opportunity. Indeed, today is actually the deadline for the registration of the spaza shops, and this is the second actually. Today marked the second actually extension, which actually was given by Minister Labisi of 2 months. At least the 2 months have now come to an end. But it's very unfortunate that at least it is coming to an end when at least whatever the government wanted to achieve is not actually achieved. And if you look at actually the statistics given by provinces in Gauteng, Limpopo, and KwaZulu-Natal, where the vast majority of the business have their business, it is very heartening actually to see that in Limpopo province, the last actually information given was only given that there is only 4 businesses that have so far actually registered, and their businesses actually are accepted. So it is actually worrying exercise. There is uncertainty on whether the government will extend, and as we approach actually the highlights today, we do not know actually what the outcome of the ministers or the ministerial task team is, and whether they have consulted the president, and whether the document will once again actually, but the exercise have been futile.
Okay, my understanding is that stores, spaza shops in this case, that are not registered cannot be allowed to trade until such time as they are registered. So technically they're not registered today, but they register in a week's time. Then between now and a week's time, they can't trade. Who will obviously monitor that is another whole question completely. That's the one part, right? When they register, it's an application. That could take even weeks on end, but they can trade because they've applied, right? The next important one is that foreign nationals who are undocumented and therefore ineligible to trade in the first place effectively cannot register. Now, do you understand that as well?
No, I do understand. When the president made the first actually call, the messages was at least the business need to be registered within 21 days. And the extension that actually we got also hard. But what the minister said is truly that after the end of which at least 2 weeks ago he said, the extension is almost actually zero, is that any business that is not registered as per the deadline will be closed. But with the exercise and how it turned out, and the fact that at least not even 10% nationally is achieved of that registration, I do not actually think the government will be wise to actually shut down a constituency that is over 200 billion rand, and that actually catered for the most impoverished community in the informal settlement and the township across South Africa. So I'm sure the ministers actually have said, and the president is actually briefed on actually the outcome of the exercise, and I foresee at least they may come actually with another workable, because this one actually is not actually working because of the stringent measures by the municipalities and lack of actually support from themselves.
So have you, as being the chairman of the African Diaspora Forum, have you been in consultation with the minister and other relevant authorities speaking on behalf of your community?
Brother Ashraf, we don't work in silos. We don't work as one organization. The African Diaspora Forum is a federation of migrant association. We are currently 38 countries, and we also as well work with other actually migrant rights organizations that in compromise of actually a lot of others, like the human rights and, other aspect and business. We have made submission to the president, we have made submission to the minister, and we have even given advices, and even through actually the interviews like this, that at least, the time given is not a time that our migrants in business and even the South African can actually achieve success in this. Remember, these are boxes that you need to tick, and it differs from province to provinces. The most provinces that have got a lot of submissions is Gauteng, but one aspect of that is actually the businesses in Gauteng, mostly in informal settlement and the township, cannot attain this because they do not have, even the owners do not actually have the right of actually usage of those. Mostly are informal settlements upcoming every day, And for you to go to even municipality and get an approval for actually your businesses, it is almost an impossible mission that can even extend to 2 years or 1 year.
So, if I heard you correctly early on, I think did you say 200? Did you say 200 million rands?
No. The Spaza food industry is actually over 200 billion.
Billion. I heard you say 200 billion. Okay.
Billion, yeah.
So, are you suggesting that the Spaza food industry, insofar as it relates to the African Diaspora Forum, which is mainly foreign nationals, right? That you think it could well be at risk in terms of the country could well be at risk losing all of that?
It is, yes, indeed, because for the migrant in business, especially those from Pakistan, Bangladesh, and those of us from Somalia and Ethiopia, it is indeed actually a survival mood for us. Most of our guys, their siblings, their families, and extended families depend on this. Shutting down will actually be shutting their livelihood. But besides that, they also have got constituencies that actually borrow heavily from them, that actually get documentation from them, food from them. So shutting this industry abruptly will not actually affect the economy of the country, but it will also affect the well-being of the owners as well as the consumers.
And therefore, at this point in time, the owners that you represent, what are they saying? I mean, can you share some of their thoughts and their hopes and their fears?
No, most of them are actually hopeless, only waiting for the next action that the government will take. And remember, most of them are survivalist businesses. And they came into the country barely with nothing, some running from war, some running from poverty. So for many, it will be actually an exercise of restarting their life afresh in case the government will actually shut it down. But we do not foresee the government in its wisdom will actually come to such a conclusion and shut such a big industry, even though it is mainly run by migrants.
Okay. Well, what do you feel about, at the time when we had these issues about the foods that were contaminated, and there was this big outcry mainly around foreign nationals who were owning these stores, who were not maintaining themselves from a cleanliness point of view, and therefore were the cause of these contaminations, right? What do you think about the many people that then therefore vented their anger against foreign nationals?
Brother Ashraf, the foodborne disease is actually something that is prevalent and common within actually the food and the communities around it. It's not something that is new and that have started last year or this year. In 2005, in the Western Cape, in Masipumulela Township, there were also similar cases, of which at least the effect of this, migrant businesses in that area, amounting to 48 of them, were actually completely looted. And through the intervention of the Premier at that time, and I think it was Ibrahim Rasool, at least we could reintegrate our members. From then, every year we could actually see either a resurgence of actually attack on migrants, whether it is food, expired food that they sold, or something that they consume that also have caused a death or actually, an injury to one. So we have always been actually asking the government to actually assist in making sure that this industry is regularized. We even went 10 years ago to translate some of the essential bylaws into vernacular so that our members will not actually have the saying that at least, we do not understand this in English. We translated this in Urdu. We translated the same concept in Bengali, which is actually now the dominant language in Bangladesh, in Amharic, which is mainly spoken in Ethiopia, as well as Somali. So we have tried, but unfortunately, we were not getting support from the government side in terms of implementation of this. And that is actually why today it became a call and the president have to intervene and it becomes a national disaster.
Okay, here's the last thing then. From all the constituency that you represent, right, the African Diaspora Forum, and in terms of the Spaza shops that they own, right, how many of them exist? How many of them do you expect to be registered? And how many of them do you expect will be unable to be registered because they have irregular documentation?
The last statistics given, even though actually it differs, is there are about 250,000 food outlets across the country. And if you said even 70% of that industry is migrant-owned, to be sincerely, we are talking about a figure closer to actually even 200, let's say for argument's sake, not mathematically. So shutting down will actually shut almost not less than 70% of the food industry, which is now mainly run by migrants. But coming to the number that are registered locally, and I'm talking of the indigenous South Africans who run this industry, as well as the migrant, I do not even foresee a percentage of 15% registered and compliant fully or 100% in this industry.
Okay, so here's a question very quickly. Ashraf, it's Musa from eThekwini. It's Sheikh and his migrants paying tax since South Africa now needs to consider every cent. Quick answer on that?
No, migrants are paying, and to the knowledge I have, yes, they have to pay. Once you registered your businesses, you are also given a tax, and it is their responsibility to go every year and make sure that actually they are tax compliant and they give the dues that is that. Besides that, they are also VAT collectors for the government, because wherever they buy for VAT, and also whoever buys from them, that there is that value added tax. So to my knowledge, yes, because most of them, their business are registered, they are paying tax.
Okay, let's see what happens next week and beyond. Amir Sheikh, chairman of the African Diaspora Forum, regarding the Spaza Shop registration deadline as it pertains to foreign nationals. I wonder where you sit on this one. And are you a foreign national who are concerned, as Amir Sheikh is concerned, about what may happen next? I certainly would like to know. 086 000 2032. Welcome to the National Pulse.
In business, a rand saved is a rand earned. And almost 100,000 businesses trust OUTsurance.
We're a sealing and partition company. I like OUTsurance. They have that personal touch. In addition to the great service they give me, they've also saved me and my company 3,266 rand per month. Guys, make that call. It's well worth it.
For your business insurance, contact OUTsurance to see how much your business could save. SMS quote to 43328 for immediate cover. Or visit outsurance.co.za today. A licensed insurer and FSP. T's and C's online.
Fizzy drinks and fruit juices can make our children sick. Sugar is dumped into their bodies with every sip, which could lead to obesity, heart disease, and diabetes as they age. We must protect them from drinks high in sugar. Demand a stricter health promotion levy now. Sign the petition on heala.org. That's HEALA.org.
The whispers in the morning as I look in your
This February, the month of love and self-care, at SAFM we're celebrating with you, spreading love to all. Let's embrace kindness, connection, and self-care. And as always, SAFM will continue leading the conversations that move us through love, wellness, and everything in between. This month, let's love ourselves, love each other, and keep the conversation going. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
'Cause I'm your lady and you are my man.
Ashraf Garda on the National Pulse.
What's that phrase about a week being a long time in politics? I think just over a week ago, the U.S. President Donald Trump described the Ukrainian President Zelensky as a dictator who started that Russia-Ukraine war. Well, they're meeting today in the USA. And in the context of all of that, we understand the meeting is around an agreement for the United States to exploit, and in inverted commas the word exploit, Ukraine's rare earth mineral resources. Let's find out more about that and what that really means with Peter Zalmayev, who's the director of the Eurasia Democracy Initiative. Peter, appreciate your time. You're live on the National Pulse. Thanks for joining us.
Sure, happy to be here.
Thank you. So, does this surprise you, as you heard my intro, a dictator last week and they're meeting today?
Well, knowing Donald Trump and watching Donald Trump closely ever since, even before his first term, mind you, I'm a Ukrainian American and I lived in New York since the late 90s. I kind of know that, what Donald Trump is. He's a mercurial kind of a character, very transactional, who basically decides that whatever the truth is whatever he says at that given moment, and he's very, steadfastly demonstrating that truth. He just demonstrated it at his joint press conference with Keith Starmer, the Prime Minister of UK, when he was asked, well, didn't you call President Zelensky a dictator? And he said, what, me? No, it never happened. happened, So this is par for the course for Donald Trump. He wants to keep both sides kind of off balance, unsaddled, and he thinks that this way he will have an advantageous position from which to dictate sort of conditions for peace for both sides.
Okay, so whether he's surprised or not that he actually blurted out that Zelensky was a dictator or not, the fact is they are meeting today, right? What has changed so dramatically in the last week that has got them to sit down at a table to meet and to thresh out, as you said, transactional? That means where is the win-win in this?
Hello?
Okay, do we still have you there?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hope you could hear me, Peter. I was asking where's the win-win
I'm
in
here,
there?
yes. Can you hear me?
Where do you see the
Yes, yeah, I'm here.
win-win in the meeting between the Ukrainian leader and the US leader?
Right. Well, I'm not sure if you can call it a win-win, but for Ukraine, it's just simply do or die. I mean, Ukraine cannot afford to alienate the administration.
Yeah, okay, I think we're really battling to pick up Peter Zalmayev, which is a huge pity. Certainly would like to have heard what he had to say. Peter Zalmayev, director of the Eurasia Democracy Initiative. Let's see if we can maybe get him back. I'm not too sure. But I can tell you this much, right? So here's this. Okay, hopefully, Peter, we have you there once again, right? Okay, Peter, no, I think
Yes,
not.
I'm here.
All right,
I'm
good.
here.
Okay, so
I'm here.
you spoke about do or die. What does that mean from a Ukrainian point of view? If they don't accept this mineral resources deal from the USA, what would happen to the Ukraine?
Basically, I mean, if the U.S. were to stop supplying weapons to Ukraine could last for some. Ukraine is now currently producing about 40% of all its military needs, with 30% being supplied by the European Union. But the other 30% is key, and that's the U.S., that's the technologies, that's the Patriot missiles that have been keeping our cities more or less safe since Putin unleashed this terror campaign from the sky against our civilian areas. So this is like a necessity. We can't alienate the U.S. On the other hand, what is in it for Donald Trump? Donald Trump wants to show that he's an able deal maker. He wants to show his electorate that, look, I got this incredible deal out of Ukraine. We'll be paying for this kind of service. Joe Biden was responsible in just spending money. I'm still trying to help Ukraine, but we're trying to get our money back.
Now, besides this transactional deal, I think from the Ukrainians, they certainly want peace. And I know that, again, about a week ago, Vladimir Zelensky made the point that he would, it's so important for his country to have peace and to be part of NATO that if it needs him stepping down, he would do so, if that will secure those positions. What are your thoughts about that?
It's true that, it's not just this dance that we've been involved with, West and Ukraine regarding NATO's membership. It was dangled over Ukraine's as early as 2008 during the Budapest, sort of memorandum, when it's essentially both Georgia and Ukraine were promised membership, but at some distant sort of future. The political will to accept Ukraine as a member was never there. So we wound up in the worst possible worlds, where Russia was being teased, and did not like this. At the same time, Ukraine was not really being offered a genuine kind of offer of membership. So we provoked the Russian bear into this, at least allowed it rhetorically to use this to say, well, listen, this is an existential threat for us. We cannot afford a NATO member such close culturally and politically country like Ukraine to be a member of NATO. And so the responsibility lies with Angela Merkel, the former Chancellor of Germany, and other political leaders. But be that as it may, that's already passed. Just the last 3 years of this war, Western leaders, one after another, said that Ukraine will inexorably become member of NATO. Well, now new broom sweeps clean. New guy, new sheriff in town. Trump says this is a non-starter. And he basically repeated repeated this talking point of many, realpolitik kind of American conservatives who have said that we should never have teased Russia with Ukraine's NATO membership. So it's off the table right now. And the question is, what will, if anything, will replace it? So that whatever ceasefire agreement is reached with Russia is not, violated at the next opportunity, and Russia reinvades after it has restored its military, it's taken a kind of a breather, and goes against Ukraine with a renewed force. What would prevent that from happening? That is the big question, and European leaders are trying to answer it. Keith Starmer said that UK will consider sending troops and some military fighter jets to Ukraine. Macron has said something similar, so at least they're starting to consider various alternatives to NATO.
Okay, and therefore, just a quick answer as we got onto news. I mean, do you find that suddenly in the last week or two, the relationship between the USA and Russia is changing or has changed, and the relationship between the USA and the Ukraine is changing?
Unfortunately, yes, but at the same time, just like, John Bolton, the former national security advisor for Donald Trump, said the other day that, whatever there is happening, whatever was happening at the UN when U.S. was voting for an alternative resolution of its own and against Ukraine's resolution condemning Russia as the aggressor, that Russians were drinking vodka straight out of the bottle. While I think that may have been too soon. Once again, I think, the Russians and Americans just met, their delegations met in Istanbul, and, it's conspicuous, the silence that followed. So it seems like Russians were drinking that vodka a bit prematurely. Donald Trump is showing once again how mercurial and unreliable he is. So Russians may be in for unpleasant surprises, especially considering that Vladimir Putin is not really motivated to negotiate. He thinks that things are going his way in Ukraine. He wants to drag it out long enough to where he can capture more Ukraine's territory. Once Donald Trump sees that, he may be pissed off, and Russians, once again, may be in for a rude awakening.
Okay, that's where we leave it. Appreciate your time, Peter Zalmayev, Director of the Eurasia Democracy Initiative. As you said, mercurial and unreliable, both attributes of Donald Trump, according to my guest. What do you make of it? Let's get the news headlines. Here's Ondela.
Thank you, Ashraf. In the news headlines, the ANC has received just over 12 million rand in donations, the highest, followed by its GNU partner, the DA. This is revealed in the IEC's third quarter political funding donations disclosure report for the financial year 2024-2025. Afrikaner group AfriForum has hit back at criticism from President Cyril Ramaphosa that AfriForum is sowing divisions within the country for their visit to the U.S. And the Supreme Court in Namibia has dismissed the opposition's application to question the validity of the 2024 general election. The Independent Patriots for Change and the Landless People's Movement had gone to court. A full update follows at the top of the hour.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the N14 westbound has delays approaching the R512 Malibongwe Drive exit. The N12 R24 westbound in Bedfordview is queuing on both routes towards Gilulis interchange. The N3 southbound in Edenville queuing towards Linksfield Road. Linwood Road eastbound in Pretoria slow moving towards Jacobson Drive. Rivernia Road in Sunninghill is slow moving at Witkoppen Road. In central Johannesburg, the M2 eastbound queuing towards Maritzburg Street, and the M1 southbound slow moving towards Crown interchange. In KZN, the N2 northbound has a crash before King Shaka Airport exit. Umgeni Road westbound is slow moving through Springfield Park. In Cape Town, the N1 outbound queuing towards Brighton Road, so consider using alternative routes. The N2 outbound is queuing towards Spine Road exit, the M5 southbound slow moving towards Kromboom Road exit, and the M3 southbound slow moving towards Rhodes Drive. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
This is SAFM Sports with Tumi Nkapele.
You know what, Evan? You always know what Tumi is going to talk about based upon the sports top she's wearing. Like some days it's Orlando Pirates, should I say that? And I haven't seen the Chiefs one, not yet. But other days, it's the South African cricket top, the Proteas top, and that's what you're wearing today.
I'm actually wearing it today, and I was just telling you earlier on, it reminds me of Hashim Amla, which is very ironic because I'm wearing the old Proteas jersey, the one that had the previous sponsor. And I
Okay.
remember there was a whole case around how he can't actually wear this jersey that has the logo of this particular
So that was
sponsor
the
because of
you're talking about the Castle Lager logo,
Yes,
right?
the
yeah.
Castle Lager logo back in the days. But I'm wearing it and I'm just like, it actually somehow reminds me of Hashim Amla.
Okay, I'll give you. I'll
He
give you
was
a
my
story.
favourite, just by
I'll
the
tell you a
way.
story about Hashim Amla at the end. Okay, but carry on. So interesting. And the Springboks, the Proteas, they play tomorrow, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, a very good afternoon to you and our listeners, Ashraf. Now, Proteas batter Rassie van der Dussen insists that England's confirmed exit from the ICC Champions Trophy has no bearing on their approach going into tomorrow's match. Although the passage to the knockout stage is all but sealed, South Africa still need to beat the Three Lions in Karachi to try and secure a semi-final spot against New Zealand in Lahore rather than travelling to Dubai to face Group A winners India. Van der Dussen says that this matchup remains a quarterfinal for the Proteas, with Australia and Afghanistan battling it out for the other knockout in their Group B clash today.
I don't think we'll approach it any different, to be honest. I think the nature of Champions Trophy is that it is quite cutthroat. You have to be on it every match. There's no room to actually come back if you have a bad start, like the case is with England. So I think we were always coming into this match saying that it will possibly be a sort of quarter-final. I think it a little bit changes for them. They can't go through anymore, but it's a match against England. We don't need any extra motivation to play England. They're a dangerous team. Yes, they haven't had a great few weeks here, but if you look at the names and their lineup, we obviously respect what they bring to the ground. So.
Meanwhile, talking about the other Group B clash, Afghanistan bowled out for 273 in the 50 overs. Serikwela Ataltop scored with 85 and Ben Dwoses taking 3 wickets. In terms of Australia, the last time I checked, let me see over here. Do I still have it? Ooh, unfortunately, I'll have to give you the score update in the next hour. But then moving on to Rugby, Lions coach Ivan van Rooyen has recalled star poacher JC Pretorius for the URC clash with the Sharks at Ellis Park tomorrow. Pretorius returns in 1 of 4 changes as a result of the injuries. Quan Horn, Hanko van Wyk and Ethan Oosthuizen feature on a 7-man injury list, replaced by fullback Tapua Mafura, centre Manuel Ross and Ruben Schoeman, the latter back from a suspension. Then in football, Kaizer Chiefs coach Nasruddin Nabi is bracing himself for a different and effective Mamelodi Sundowns under coach Miguel Cardoso, a team he calls the second or third best club in the African continent. Now, the two teams lock horns in their third game of the season tomorrow afternoon at 3:30 at the Lucas Muripe Stadium. And Chiefs have already lost twice to Sundowns this season, but this was before the arrival of Cardoso in the Betway Premiership and Carling knockout. And Nabi says what is clear is that his Portuguese counterpart has tweaked some things in Sundowns play.
I think for the game number 3, we have a new coach in Sundowns, Mr. Cardoso, with he changed small things in Sundowns. It's not same Mokeba Sundowns, it's not Coach Erolani Sundowns. Change some things. If you understand, if you observe it, football is a change. I don't know, he's no Kaiser Chiefs too much. Maybe he's scored the last game. We are very bad. I have 2 chances to kill me. But I think the last game is not the really level for Kaiser Chiefs. I have our chance with maybe in the top 3 best team in Africa, or the top 2 best team in Africa. I love this challenge. I don't go like small team. No.
Now, the match sold out in 2 hours, and Sundowns coach Miguel Cardoso has called for fans to also fill out stadiums for the business end of the season.
My word to our fans is please fill our stadium every match. If they want us to win, fill our stadium every match. Because we need them. We need to fill the stadiums. And the ones that are present, they have been fantastic. But we have many more at home that I would like to have on the stadiums every day. Please, a word for our fans. Help us to be stronger. Come on the matches, fill our stadiums, make them full, bring the joy, bring the energy, because that's how we're gonna win the next match and the next one and the next one. And everybody thinking always up and only on the next match, because football is next match.
And just by the way, Ashraf, I actually was deciding, do I wear a Kaizer Chiefs jersey, Mamelodi Sundowns or Proteas? And because South Africa obviously always comes out top,
It's the national
I
team.
had to go for the national
Well,
team.
that makes sense.
So don't make it seem like I only wear Orlando
No,
Pirates jersey.
point noted. But I must say, the Sundowns coaches pitch for supporters to come to the game. What a beautiful pitch. I was listening to just his reasons.
Right.
Like, he doesn't have to say, come on, it's cheap. Like, you love the game. He's like, we need your support. Just come out and fill it up. Listen, quick one about Hashim Amla. So you're talking about the Castle Lager top. So just when he started playing international cricket, just in that period, I was part of a grouping of guys under a label of an organization called Boundary Breakers. And we were looking to get into player management. And part of that, we did some work for Hashim Amla. So the request that he had to put to Cricket South Africa to request not to use the Castle Lager logo was written and submitted by Boundary Breakers, which was written by myself.
Your brains.
I kid you not.
Wow.
That's a long time ago. Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
listen, I'll have more on other sports, but let me just quickly give you an update on that score. Australia currently sitting on 65 for 1 after 6 overs against Afghanistan. They need 209 runs in 43 overs to win in the Champions Trophy today.
Right, more sport in an hour.
Andile, the CEO of a multinational corporation, is driving home with his daughter.
Dad, why is the tooth fairy so stingy?
Stingy? Well, she makes sure everyone gets something.
Does every electrical company get something?
Yes, they're covered by Old Mutual Corporate's employee benefits.
Even Abdul.
Of course, he gets retirement benefits.
And Sisampa on that big machine.
She gets group risk cover if that big machine hurts her.
Wow, that's amazing, Dad.
Visit oldmutual.co.za/employee benefits and go from questions to solutions for your employees with Old Mutual Corporate. Old Mutual Life Assurance Company SA Limited is a licensed FSP and life insurer. T's and C's apply.
Be up your February with great value deals from Vodacom Business. Get the new Samsung Galaxy A16 on a Red Business 1.5 gig plan for 379 Rand per month over 24 months. Enhance your deal. Add 29 Rand extra per month over 24 months and get the Samsung Galaxy Fit 3. Available in-store and online. T's and C's apply. Further together. Vodacom Business.
You're listening to the National Pulse on SAFM.
Right, don't forget, being a Friday, we always have a fireside chat, and my guest today in the fireside chat is Dr. Tessa Dowling, who's a senior lecturer in the African Languages section at the School of Languages and Literature at UCT. I mean, basically, she's quite an expert speaking isiXhosa. Looking forward to that conversation. But there's issues in the Eastern Cape now. The Finance MEC in the Eastern Cape, Mlungisi Mboko, has warned government officials in the province. What's the warning about? Not to engage in illegal activities that are at variance with government's code of conduct. Okay, what does that mean? This is after he was made aware that some government employees were unethically exchanging traveling and accommodation vouchers, which they received, right, swapping it for cash, something that affects the accommodation industry negatively. Let's find out more about this with Thandi Mkanzana, the chairperson of Women in Tourism in the Amatole region. Thandi, appreciate you connecting to us on the National Pulse.
Good afternoon, sir.
Thank you. Tell me more about this, swapping vouchers for cash.
There's a new... let me greet you all, as well as your listeners. Good afternoon to everyone.
Good afternoon. Go ahead.
Yes, there's this new Corruption Act which has been done by the government officials. When they come to our establishment, they demand cash in exchange of meals. If you've got, for an example, a voucher or an order from the department or from the travel agents, which says you must provide them bed which is they must sleep in our establishments, and provide them with meals, breakfast, maybe lunch, as well as dinner. When they arrive, they will tell you that they do not want you to cook for them. You must give them money in exchange of those meals.
So they're basically selling the voucher. They're selling the voucher to you, effectively.
Yes, yes.
And does your, you in the hospitality industry, does your organization then do that or not?
Some people are doing it because when you say no, they will block you. They won't use you anymore. So some people are like, we are losing anyway. Because if you say you are not doing this, they will ask the travel agent to move them from your establishment, if they're going to stay for like 5 days or 4 days, to move them from your establishment to another establishment. And they will come up with their false stories, like they will say it's dirty, the food is it's ugly, it's rotten, it's cold, all those silly things. And then when you say to the travel agent, kindly come and have a look here and see if my place is dirty. When some of the travel agencies come, they will be shocked. The places are beautiful. Some of the places are super clean. That simply shows that there's nothing wrong with your establishment, but they just want money.
So how widespread is it? Meaning, give us an indication, how often in a week does it happen?
It's a daily thing. When they come to your place, the government officials are demanding cash. Yeah. And if you are saying no, the unfortunate part is you will be empty for like 6 months or 3 months.
Okay.
They won't come to your establishment.
So the point I'm bringing is like, how often does it happen? Meaning, let's say in a month, how many times does that occur?
I think I did answer that question, my friend. If the government officials are going to be booked at your place, 95% they will demand the cash.
Okay.
So, but the unfortunate part is when the travel agent is calling and say, are you doing it? You say no, they are not going to come to your place.
I understand.
No, I'm not doing the cashback.
I understand that, right? So I understand this has now been brought to the attention of the MEC. Then who did that?
Yes. Us, as the Women in Tourism.
Okay. So why did you feel the need to do that? I understand. I mean, you want to safeguard your businesses, but you're also in many ways, you're being extorted, right? To say, if you don't do as we tell you, we won't come and give you business. So you felt a need to do that, right?
Yes.
What has been the reaction from the MEC for Finance in the region?
He has been so helpful. Now we are in a process of organizing a meeting with all the government departments under one roof. Not everyone will be there. We're planning to have the MECs, the CFOs, the supply chain managers, the HODs under one roof, as well as the executives of different hospitality business chambers. So that we can come up with the solution for this extortion.
When you told the MEC about it, was he surprised about it, or did he know about it already?
He knew about it because I think there were some chambers, some business chambers who spoke to him, who went to him. I think in 2019, this thing has been going on for a long time. But then I guess they didn't find a solution to it, because this thing is not easy to trace. It's always a verbal thing, it's not written. So when something is not written down, it's just your word against mine, So he knew about it.
Okay. Anything else you would like to share? In fact, we're going to chat to the MEC after 4 o'clock. Anything else you'd like to tell us, or you'd want us to ask him?
I will we did have a long thing. The only thing which I will ask him to fast track the meeting so that their government officials can be aware of our stance now as to if they continue with this, we are going to name and shame them, and a harsher sentence must be implemented, because we are feeling insulted, because when you take them when you report them and they take a disciplinary hearing against the government officials, we are losing our businesses, but they will give them a final written warning. We do not want that. If someone does that, he or she must be suspended for like 3 months without pay, as well as the government, as well as us as the establishment. If we are doing that, we must not operate for like 6 months or even a year. So that this can come to an end. So a harsher sentence to both of us, the government officials as well as us as BNBs.
Well, you sound like someone who should head up the whole country one day. That's the type of commitment to excellence that we need to have. Chandi Mkanzana, thank you for your time. Just think about that. You never know, right? Chairperson of Women in Tourism in the Amatole region. Who knows, right? What do you make of that? Come on. You know much about what's going on in the Eastern Cape regarding these vouchers that are given to government ministers, and then they swap it because they don't want a chow. They swap it for bucks. Think that's okay or not? How should the Eastern Cape region deal with it, right? This is the National Pulse. I'll take your calls. I want to get a feel of your pulse in a moment.
In business, a rand saved is a rand earned. And almost 100,000 businesses trust OUTsurance.
Switching to OUTsurance has definitely saved me money. 2,107 rands per month. I would recommend OUTsurance to all business owners because they will definitely save money. With OUTsurance, you always get something out.
For your business insurance, contact OUTsurance to see how much your business could save. SMS quote to 43328 for immediate cover, or visit outsurance.co.za today. A licensed insurer in FSP. T's and C's online.
CFI, a global leader in online trading, is now in South Africa. Access 15,000 plus instruments, currencies, stocks, metals, crypto CFDs, indices, futures, and more on world-class platforms. Enjoy zero pip spreads, no commission fees, and 24/7 support for confident trading. Visit CFI.trade for a secure, transparent trading experience. Don't miss the National Pulse with Ashraf Garda, Tuesdays at 16:45, proudly sponsored by CFI. CFI Financial, an authorized financial services provider. T's and C's apply.
Masandawana say they're in the business of winning matches, but Amakhosi have a big agenda to stop the log leaders. Naturena confronts Tlurko. Kabuyelo battles it out with Golden Black. This is the Betway Premiership. Witness Mzansi's clash of giants. Mamelodi Sundowns FC versus Kaizer Chiefs FC. This Saturday, 1 March at 2:30 p.m. Live on SABC1 and at 3:30 p.m. on SABC radio stations. Also available at your fingertips on SABC Plus. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Hey there! Need to know your TV license balance but don't want to wait? No sweat! Just send a quick SMS with your ID or TV license number to 44210. Remember, standard SMS rates apply. And presto, your balance pops right up anytime, anywhere. It's as easy as pie. So why procrastinate? Give it a try and get your info in a flash. T's and C's apply.
The National Pulse, weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
Okay, so let me just tell you, we'll chat to Mlungisi Mvoko, the MEC for Finance in the Eastern Cape, after 4 o'clock. Don't miss that conversation. But for now, I want to get your thoughts. I want to know what you, so they get a feel for your pulse. Tumi in the Midrand region, let's get your thoughts first. Hi, Tumi.
I'm fine, and how are you?
I'm very good indeed, right? It's Friday. Go ahead. What's your thoughts?
Okay, my thought is, the gentleman says this is a $1 billion business.
Yeah.
My concern is that $1 billion, South Africa doesn't see it. The reason being, they don't order from the local manufacturers. Most of the local boys and girls work in the factories. if they were ordering from the local manufacturer, those 350s, those Modendes, then that money will circulate. But now when they manufacture their own products in the back rooms and they sell, they collect the 350s, they collect Modende, but the money goes into the bank and leave the country. So I'm one of the people who were disappointed with the opportunity to register, because if they don't work on their strategy, then we were saying, okay, ShopRite and Checkers and OK are coming with the tax shop system. We know where they order. Then at least there will be job creation and everybody else will be happy. So it's simple. They must also work on the strategy.
Okay, but isn't that, and I'm certainly not here to speak on behalf of the foreign nationals, but isn't, why stop at that? I can tell you now, there are so many products that you and I use that are also imported, that the entire product is imported. If I'm looking at a TV set right now that I'm looking at as I talk to you, that TV set is imported, and I can go on. And then even you mentioned Checkers and ShopRite and what have you, a lot of the stuff that they've got is either imported or actually made under license from a foreign company, made in South Africa under license. So they still have a license where they're paying others abroad. I think the big issue is, are they creating employment in the country, and are they paying taxes in the country?
Yeah, that is the problem of the government. It's big. For an example, most of the factories were closed. That's why now we are importing even clover. We have a clover here, and then you see some funny language on the clover. You see, now we are talking about the tax shop. But if we go in a bigger scale and we look at the control of government, they lost it. That's why all of a sudden you see all these manufacturers of different vehicles.
Yeah. Okay, point made. To me, I'm going to move on. I hear you. To me, I heard your thoughts and you made the point. And you're right. Many may argue quite rightfully that they've lost it. You may have seen the feature on Morning Live with Leanne Manners about hijacked buildings in the city of Joburg. I mean, the numbers are frightening. Who could have allowed that number of hijacked buildings to be hijacked, completely gone, owned by government, by the way, and others are owned by, owners, public, but it's just gone. Siva in Durban, let's get your thoughts. Hi.
Good afternoon, Ashraf.
Yeah, good afternoon. Go for it, Siva.
Okay. Earlier on, I listened to your colleague, right? She interviewed a lady by the name of Hendricks, right, in regards to the licensing, right? And she and this lady Hendricks, she spoke and she said, these spaza shop owners, it's such a difficult task for them to get so many documents, and these documents don't come cheap, right? And on the 3 o'clock news bulletin, there was a gentleman that spoke, and he says, you know what, these spaza shop owners, they're trying to fork out whatever money they have. For registration, it's 1,800 for the license. Now you go to the your traditional leader in your area. He's supposed to be looking after your best interest. Now he wants to charge you for a form, to fill out the form for you, 8,000 rand.
Wow.
I drew 8,000 rand. Can you beat that now? I mean, you're a traditional leader. You're supposed to look after your people in your area. You're getting paid from Copta as well. And still, these people are battling to make a living.
All right, I hear that, Siva. Let's move on. If anybody else knows about this 8,000 rand that a traditional leader is charging to get the documentation right, then let us know. Yo, Nazir in Benoni, go for it, Nazir.
Hi, Ashraf. Good show.
Thank you.
Just a quick one. We employ about 600 people.
Right.
And our goods get sold through these spaza shops and through the informal channels.
Okay.
And lots of these traders are foreigners.
Right.
Now, a lady phoned earlier to me, I think she said that no, these guys make all their own stuff. I think they make some of their own stuff. But a lot of this manufactured stuff by South African employers, made by South African companies who employ South African people, do go through those channels as well. So it's not like all of this.
Well, I think that's an important point that you bring up. I mean, there's an interconnected ecosystem that impacts on every one of us in ways. So it's not that simple to say, they do this, everything's imported. It's not like that, isn't it?
That's right. And I think it's a small percentage. It's just blown out of proportion because a few photographs were taken of a few of them making stuff in the back, some back room. I don't know what the percentage is, but it'd be interesting if there's some research done and that we can know actually how much of the economy is taken by them. And like you correctly pointed out earlier, when we spoke about imports, the phone I'm using now is fully imported.
Exactly.
And also, on the question of the Israeli foreigners. They come here, they got dual passports, they go fight in a war there, which is totally against the Foreign Military Assistance Act. They're supposed to get prosecuted, but they actually don't even get touched. But only black people who come into the country and get jobs get attacked by all of these.
So you think that the law is much harder, or the perceptions are much harder against foreign nationals who are considered black? Okay, yes. Nazir got that
Thank
point. Right, I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll take some of the other callers just now and get your thoughts as well, Younger, and many of the others. Lots of others talking about those officials and those vouchers. Oh my goodness, who would have thought about that? Those vouchers being cashed in big time. It's like receiving you get a complimentary ticket to the Springboks playing as a government official. You can sell it for 2,000-3,000 rands. Yeah, maybe, isn't it? 4 o'clock, here's the news with Ondela.
Thank you, Ashraf. In the top stories, IEC reveals third quarter political funding donations, and AfriForum heats back at Ramaphosa's criticism. For SAFM News, I am Ondela Mbana, and a very good afternoon. The ANC has received just over 12 million rand in donations, the highest, followed by its GNU partner, the DA. This is revealed in the IEC's third quarter political funding donations disclosure report for the financial year 2024-2025. Some notable donors that contributed to the ANC were Education and Training Unit, Chancellor House Trust, and Butu Commercial Enterprises. Natasha Piri reports.
Whilst the DA received over 4 million rand from the Frederick Newman Foundation, Main Street 1564 and Danish Liberal Democracy Program, amongst others. The Referendum Party, an unrepresented political party established last year by Phil Craig, came in third, declaring just under R1 million, whilst Musi Maimani's Build One South Africa received a donation of over 160,000 rand from Konrad Adenauer Stiftung. Meanwhile, foreign donations constituted 11% of the total value of donations declared for the quarter. The DA and BOSA declared these. Natasha Piri, SABC News, Johannesburg.
Afrikaner lobby group AfriForum has hit back at criticism from President Cyril Ramaphosa that AfriForum is sowing divisions within the country for their visit to the U.S. AfriForum and Solidarity have embarked on a trip to meet with the Trump administration in what they have described as a fight for Afrikaners. Ramaphosa says that AfriForum's visit to the U.S. is not a nation-building process. CEO Kali Grill has disputed this, saying that it is the ANC and Ramaphosa who are dividing the country.
It's President Ramaphosa and ANC leaders that are dividing the country. They are doing that when the President signed the Anti-Afrikaans Bella Act that threatens the cultural existence of Afrikaans-speaking cultural communities. It's President Ramaphosa that signed the Expropriation Act. It's President Ramaphosa that refuses to condemn slogans such as Kill the Boer. It's President Ramaphosa that denies the existence of farm murders.
Free State Economic Development and Tourism MEC Ketso Makume says spaza shop owners whose registration status is not complete will be forced to close shop. Free State has received about 7,000 applications of spaza shops and small business owners, including food handling outlets. About 600 applications have been approved. Makume says already there are a number of shops that have been inspected and closed down due to non-compliance, such as health and safety.
And what we are doing, we have been closing tech shops. We have been closing the small businesses that are involved in illegal and illicit production of products. We have also been involved in ensuring that there's education, because amongst other things, which is important for our people, is the education, to learn how to manage and control your business.
The SACP in Mpumalanga says it is concerning that Premier Mandla Ndlovu did not reflect on the fight against corruption when delivering his State of the Province address in Mbombela earlier today. The SACP says corruption is one of the major challenges faced by the province. The Supreme Court in Namibia has dismissed the opposition's application to question the validity of the 2024 general election. The Independent Patriots for Change and the Landless People's Movement had gone to court. They also accused President Nangolo Mbumba of violating the Electoral Act by extending voting by 2 days. This comes as Windhoek is bidding farewell to its first democratically elected president, Dr. Sam Nujoma, after his passing. Namibian Highest Court delivered this judgment, and this paves the way for the president-elect Netumbo Nandi Ndaitwah to be inaugurated next month. Namibian Chief Justice Peter Shivute.
Proclamation 34 of 2024 was lawfully enacted, and the voting that occurred on the 29th and the 30th of November 2024 was valid and lawful. The applicants have therefore not made out a case for the invalidation of the impugned proclamation. Their challenge to the outcome of the 2024 presidential election therefore fails.
Recapping the top story, the ANC has received just over 12 million rand in donations, the highest, followed by its GNU partner, the DA. This is revealed in the IEC's third quarter political funding donations disclosure report for the financial year 2024-2025. I am Ondelambana for SAFM News, headlines at 4:30.
In sports this hour, Nedbank Cup quarterfinals dates and venues confirmed, and Handré Pollard returns to South Africa. More details at 4:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the N3 northbound in Bedfordview has a stationary vehicle reported on the link to the N12 East at Kilulis Interchange. The R24 eastbound in Kempton Park is queuing towards the R21 Airport Interchange. In Pretoria, the N1 northbound queuing towards Rigel Avenue. Eskom Pahleli Drive northbound has delays towards Mood Street, and Atterbury Road eastbound as a crash reported at Cliffendale Drive. In KZN, the N2 northbound has a crash before King Shaka Airport exit. The N3 westbound has a stationary truck reported at Cliffdale, and the N3 outbound is queuing towards Spaghetti Junction. In Cape Town, the N7 northbound is slow moving towards Plattekloof Road. The R300 northbound is queuing on the ramp to the N1 outbound. The N1 inbound is slow moving towards Okavango Road, and Batencross Street outbound slow moving towards the elevated freeway. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
Stay safe on the roads. SAFM is with you.
Whether it is a CCMA referral, problems with a mechanic, or unfair blacklisting, Clientele legal plans are affordable, and you receive up to 670,000 rands worth of legal services per year. We cover civil, criminal, and labor-related matters. Our legal team will be your support 24 hours a day. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and a licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
Honey, what are you doing?
I'm stretching for tonight.
I thought you're not dancing at bachelorette parties anymore.
Baby, we need the money to put Johnny through matric mos.
And what's the police uniform for?
The clients feel safer when I wear it.
No, man, just sell your bucky to We Buy Cars. They give the best prices and they pay you within minutes.
Okay, but can I just go and dance one more time, please? You know how much I love it.
No, the buyer's already on his way here.
Wow, okay.
Strapped for cash? Just sell your vehicle to We Buy Cars. The easiest way to sell your car by far.
SAFM would like to thank everyone that submitted their entries for the playwriting competition. The announcement of the top 10 and winners of the competition will be announced on the 3rd of March 2025 on The Talking Point with Kathy Mutlatlana. Stay tuned to SAFM and find out who is the lucky winner. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
Well, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, Sunday World keeps you updated. Get breaking news, sports action, and exclusive celeb scoops at your fingertips. Read it, stream it, listen to it. Sunday World, news for all, anytime, anywhere.
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda on SAFM. You're listening to the National Pulse, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m.
Well, I'm certainly looking forward to the fireside chat with Dr. Tessa Dowling coming up later, senior lecturer in the African languages section at UCT. That should be really fascinating, okay? But let's then stay with that issue of those government officials allegedly in the Eastern Cape who are swapping their vouchers for cash. We chatted to Thandi Mkwazana about that. There's further comment before we chat to the MEC for Finance. Here's another comment.
Hi, Ashraf. The thing is with some of these places now where you booked and stay, you also book for breakfast and supper. The thing is, some of the food, the value is not even that of that 400 rand that they serve you. That's why some officials, they will rather take the 400 rand and go buy something else like KFC, who is filling, of which is very filling, and cost a little. And then, most the rest of the money is in their pocket.
Okay. How interesting is that? Right, let's move on with that story. Now, you heard that story. We spoke to Thandi Mkwazana, representing the women in tourism, which is very much in the hospitality industry. And, she alleges that these government officials in the Eastern Cape, they cash in their vouchers for money. And if you don't do that, they effectively blacklist, your let's call it your hotel or your Airbnb or whatever it is. So you lose a lot of business, right? Now, she also made the point that she had alerted the MEC for Finance about it. So we have him on the line, Mlungisi Mvoko, the MEC for Finance in the Eastern Cape. Appreciate your time here on the National Pulse.
Greetings, Ashraf, and greetings to your listeners.
Thank you. So, of course, you know the story already now. Allegations, vouchers cashed in for money, for cash, right? Were you surprised at that?
No, I wasn't surprised at all because I came across this story in 2019 as Treasury from another organization, and then had another organization come to me. I think it was in 2021. It's the Boracay Chamber of Business. So I've had two organizations speaking to me on this matter earlier on, and as Treasury, we then issued an instruction note to all departments about it. And I think you're putting it nicely by saying cashing vouchers for food. It's actually not like that. It's some form of extortion because they go into an institution and say, don't cook, give me the money for cooking. I mean, that is allocated for food. So I can go and buy something. And secondly, it goes beyond what would have been allowed. I think any government official or whoever is in government would actually need about 500 rand, 400 and something to calculate in terms of the threshold, in terms of the limits that are set there. It would be about 480, which is round it off and say 500 rand. But now they go beyond that in asking for money from these small BNBs and guest houses. But also, let me just say before you come in, it's not only the government departments in the Eastern Cape. We have a number of national departments that are doing this. And on a daily basis, you'll be told that these are the departments at the national level. So it's widespread. It's not only in the Eastern Cape. It's widespread.
Well, I mean, I'm surprised maybe because I'm naive to hear that, but I'm also disappointed because then what it confirms what many callers tell us on radio when they call in on these stations, right? Like, you know what? South Africa is Corruption Inc. Like everything, whoever's in a leadership position in government, and I'm not saying everyone, of course, right? But it's just so widespread, and therefore they would describe it as Corruption Inc. And your point, in many ways, just confirms that.
Yeah, no, that's why I describe it as corruption, nothing else. Let me give you a good example. The legislature, the Eastern Cape legislature, took a decision that, look, whoever gets booked in any accommodation, a product owner, will pay for accommodation and not pay for food. And that's how they escaped it. And this is what was being proposed by women in tourism. But this is not a good thing, for us in not dealing with the matter and rather look for a scapegoat. We must go out and we must talk about it. Yeah? And I'm encouraging people to talk about it, identify the people, bring them forward.
so that we can see what, this is the only way in which we can stop it, because government can't do it alone. We can only do it in partnership with the product owners, because remember, this thing was started in a correct way by product owners. In small towns where you have one guest and the product owner would say, look, I'm not going to cook. Can you have money? Just go and buy yourself something to eat. But it is that is being used by these extortionists, by corrupt people to say, we don't want it, we want money. One of the ladies confessed that when they got into her place, they said, we want money. And she said, no. She showed her the instruction note for Treasury. And that night, the following morning, they wrote a long list of things that are bad in the product owner, in the BNB or the guest house, and sent it to them. And let me say also, this is not only about those that go into the institution to go and sleep. We've discovered that it's a longer chain than that. You have someone sitting in the supply chain management in the department, also being part of this. Now it is also being, some are saying, we think you need to go beyond that because we suspect even the travel agents are involved. Okay, we have no proof about that. But this is becoming bigger and becoming
so
ugly.
Let's move on. So, so what happens next? Thandi Nkazana from the Women in Tourism suggested that, she's spoken to you and the plan is you're going to have a meeting, and all she's pleaded with you on air is like, have that meeting as soon as possible. But in having that meeting, to what end? Meaning, what's the action that will follow that meeting?
Look, the meeting is just about, if I could say, conscientizing the bigger people. The bigger group of people of what is happening. And I don't think they do not know about it, Ashraf. They all know about it. But it's just, I spoke to the Premier about this, and I said he's already agreed that I must address them in the next ESCO about this, so that we can, because if there is no consequential management and serious one, that's where the challenge is. To others, it's just to make sure that they know, they remember the instruction note, and this is what is supposed to happen. But to us, to talk to them about consequence management. Because the other part of it is that when someone is caught in this one, I just got to know that if in the sentence they escape with very light verdicts in this. So it's something that we have to talk about it and make sure that even the verdicts that are, because the very same people that sit in the disciplinary hearings are colleagues and friends, and they make sure that the verdicts are not are not strong.
So let's then talk about let's talk about the consequence management. What can be done? I'm not talking about giving them advice and giving them warnings.
Yes.
Would legal action be taken against these individuals?
Two things should be done. That those that are doing this, that are officials of government, should be charged, criminally for this. This is the other thing as well. But secondly, all those product owners that are doing this, the Department of Environmental Affairs, Economic Development, Environmental Affairs, and ECPTA, who are responsible for all of these product owners, must then do something about it, whether it means that their licenses would be taken away or whatever, but there must be something. It's still a meeting that I'm going to have. So there should be two actions. Not only the department, the action inside the department where you go to a disciplinary hearing, but they should be charged criminally. As soon as we start charging people criminally, and we will be able to deal with it.
Because also in my conversation, I'd heard that about 70% of these establishments in the Buffalo City region have been shut down because they were unable to comply. By comply, I mean they were not playing the game. That's a frightening number.
Yes, you'd be frightened. There are establishments that are always full, Ashraf, and there are establishments that receive no guests. Of course, it's not rocket science that why would you be a small establishment next to me and you are full every day, and here am I with no guests. But it hits on the very small product owners. It doesn't happen in the hotels, it happens with the small product owners. And it's not only happening in the big cities.
it happens throughout the province. I'm talking about our province. I don't know another province. It happens throughout the province. There's a small city, whether it's a big city. It's done by provincial officials. It's done by national officials. So it's a huge thing.
Okay, let's lastly then go back to the individuals involved. I mean, so one thing you're saying, they should be charged. When will they be charged? And do I take it that you're already familiar with many of these people?
I'm not familiar with many of these people. Let me start there. But I'm saying, from our side, we need to charge them criminals. This is what I want to bring to the attention of the MECs and the heads of department. That once there is a case of this nature, as much as we are pursuing it inside the department through a disciplinary hearing, a criminal charge should also be laid. This is what I'm saying.
Okay. Just the last thing. I mean, we had a caller who said that the problem is in many cases the food that was being served at these establishments were not that good, and they were getting very little for the 400 rand. So you can say the food is like worth 100 rands. Okay. So therefore they were cashing it in and rather buy KFC or whatever it was. That's what the words we used, because they would then benefit more than paying from a voucher for far less food. I mean, does that make any sense to you?
Well, it's now diluted, unfortunately, Ashraf, diluted by the fact that in many instances you wouldn't get officials coming back earlier before this kind of extortion reporting as such. They would continue to go to those very same product owners that have, that dish them small food as it is being said. So it's a bit diluted. Truth is, there might be something like that, but it will be very hard to believe now, given what is happening, that they would dish so much and people still go there. Remember, some have been operating for a long time and they've received people almost every day. So why would it surface at this point?
I'll tell you what, we're definitely going to follow that story. Please keep us informed. It has to come to its logical end, absolutely. Mlungisi Mboko, the MEC for Finance in the Eastern Cape, appreciate your time. How bizarre is that? But then if it's bizarre, why am I surprised? Should I be surprised? Certainly the MEC is not surprised. Like, this happens. It's rampant. And it's rampant not just in the Eastern Cape. I got news for you. It's rampant around the country. Wow. South Africa. Inc. Let's reflect on that on the National Pulse.
The intelligence of varsity students will be witnessed on the field of play between UJ ladies and UCT ladies. They both want to kick off the new season with 3 points. Who will pass this test with a distinction, UJ or UCT? This is the Hollywood Bet Super League. Catch the varsity derby between University of Johannesburg ladies and University of Cape Town ladies the Sunday 2 March at 2:30 p.m. live on SABC 1. Also available at your fingertips on SABC Plus. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game. The whispers in the morning as I look in your.
This February, the month of love and self-care, at SAFM we're celebrating with you, spreading love to all. Let's embrace kindness, connection and self-care. And as always, SAFM will continue leading the conversations that move us through love, wellness and everything in between. This month, let's love ourselves, love each other and keep the conversation going. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
'Cause I'm your lady and you are my man.
Right, 39-year-old Zakiti loves Outsurance Essential because it's low-cost insurance designed for older cars. For her 2011 VW Polo 1.6 Trend line, she only pays 525 rands a month. With Outsurance Essential, you get up to 1 million rand liability cover. Now, what that means is if you cause an accident, I hope not, the other car could be covered for up to 1 million rands. Add even more value with a motor warranty, which then covers you for mechanical or electrical breakdowns. Get saving with Outsurance Essential for unfinanced cars older than 5 years and valued at less than 130,000 rands. SMS car to 43187. You got that? CAR 43187. Licensed insurer and FSP, T's and C's and information online.
You're listening to the National Pulse on SAFM.
Okay, so let's move on to another story that's certainly going to, I expect, a reaction on this one here. You may have been following the story in the last few days where you've had, at one hand, I think, Mutual supporting certain schools with desks in some sort because the schools couldn't afford it. And then McDonald's doing the same thing with what is called branded MI or My Desks. They're so branded. I mean, it's as if you're in a McDonald's store, right? And these are in schools in the Cape Town region. There's been an outcry on that. One is because of what some civil society organizations believe is a food injustice in the first place. And then, of course, the extension of corporate branding right in the classroom, completely in your face. So we've had cases on McDonald's, I mentioned on Mutual, there's also been Hollywood Bats, all in your face in terms of school sponsorship in the classrooms. So what's the story around that? What we'll do is we've got Mahfouz Rafi on the line, Head of Research at Equal Education. Mahfouz, appreciate your time once again. Thanks for joining us.
Greetings to you and to your listeners. Happy to be on the show.
Right. I'll tell you what, before we go further, let's then pick up. Of course, this question was put to the Basic Education Minister, Siviwe Kwarube, about just that, and this is how she responded.
Say no, and a number of questions have been asked, for instance, about the how economically, for instance, the desks, how economically suitable are they? Firstly, these desks have been approved by UNESCO. They are 2 kilograms heavy, and they've indicated, UNESCO has indicated that this is absolutely appropriate. And remember, not every child has to take the desk home. They may leave some of these desks there, and they convert into school bags. But what is important for me is that there are children in this country who go home to places and homes where they don't have even an area to do their homework. The reason why this was even something that was even endorsed by the Department of Science and Technology is because it's innovative. It allows a child who comes from a poor home where there's no electricity to have, firstly, a light that allows them to do their homework. Secondly, it also allows them to be able to have a space to be able to do their homework. Of course, if you've got space at home, you may not need it. But I promise you, if you're a child from Mkanduli, where it's a small house, there's no place for you to do your homework, you will appreciate being able to do that. So, one, on the safety of the carrying of the desk, that has been scientifically proven to us by scientists. Number 2, this is a matter of saying where children need this help, this is where they will have.
So it's such an interesting one. Let me then bring in once again Mahfouz Rafi. So here's 2 things, right? One, we'll talk about the branding just now, right? In terms of what the minister is saying, Mahfouz, that in fact there are many learners who don't have space at home, and there's also problems with desks in schools, right? So they have these portable desks that allows them to bring them to school and take them home and do their homework on these desks, which is fabulous. Now, what is wrong in that?
No, thanks for having me on, Ashraf. I mean, you mentioned there's numerous issues. And last week I was here talking about human rights budget and austerity and how budget cuts are affecting the realization of rights. So in that interview, I think a little bit earlier, the minister did mention that there's a shortage of 2 million desks across the country. Mm-hmm. So a massive school infrastructure, school furniture shortage. And what's happening now, as we're seeing here, is that in tandem with this abandonment of the state to fulfill its responsibilities to allow schools to have dignified learning environments, there's an incentive for corporates to come in. But of course, they don't carry the same incentives and the same motives and the same responsibilities that the state does. And so what it creates, firstly, it's unsustainable. They aren't able to provide desks on the scale that the state is. And secondly, these perverse incentives lead us to see these things like the branding, which, like for McDonald's, it's a fast food, unhealthy food. Two young kids, it's extremely nefarious, right, to have that.
So, okay, let me understand this. I mean, so if there's a shortage of 2 million desks, then, oh goodness, that's a crisis. And if anybody can assist the crisis to help, that's a very good thing. So what then specifically is the problem that you would have with, let's say, McDonald's, Old Mutual, and Hollywood Bets in terms of creating these, portable desks and them being branded as well, if, in fact, it assists the learners at this point in time to be able to get on with their work, which otherwise the school department's not going to give them that desk anyway.
Look, I think we shouldn't accept so easily that the state won't fulfill its responsibilities. I think it's important that we hold the state accountable to fulfill its responsibilities. Where corporates do come in to try and fill these gaps and stuff, I think there needs to be really strong regulations. Because, of course, we welcome the sport, and it's important for them to step in to support the country. They are part of it, and they're benefiting massively from the country, and so should be giving back. And so the regulations around this should deteriorate the sort of the perverse incentives that I refer to. So it can be around branding and labeling. It can be around sort of the quid pro quo things that you see going around.
Is the argument, I mean, just to get clarity, in the case of McDonald's, is the argument that, number one, the branding is all pervasive, and I've seen it. I mean, it is absolutely in your face, right? Is that the argument, or is it the type of foods they sell? Because I understand, I mean, there are restrictions in terms of how you can market to learners, to children, right? And you're marketing to learners in the schools. And the same would apply to, say, Hollywood Bets in particular. Is it an ethical argument, or is it a case of we're okay with the brands, but we're not okay with just the level of branding in the schools?
I think it's difficult to delink the two, right? I think once you allow space for them to come in, often the state feels obligated to provide them with an incentive, and that's where this bad branding comes in. So both are bad, right? Unless there's strong regulations to guide how corporates can give back to improve the education system, bolster state capacity, then we're likely to see more and more of this.
Okay.
In the case of McDonald's, I think it's extremely important to highlight two things. Firstly, that one of the schools was in Burkap, which we know is a community strongly in support of Palestine. So immediately what comes up is this idea that they're trying to greenwash their image because McDonald's is on a global boycott list for its support of the IDF soldiers in the genocide against Palestine.
Okay, I'm aware of that, but then how then did the school accept it? Just very quickly.
Right. I mean, of course, schools are in desperate situations, right? And this is the difficulty that people come into when the state doesn't fulfill its responsibilities to learners.
Okay. I mean, isn't that the issue? That I suppose you've registered your complaints, but the problem is, as we've seen every single day, just about every department in the country, not just education, the standard answer, I've been saying it all week, like, we don't have the money. Okay, let's leave it at that, Mahfouz. We'll see where this goes, and maybe a response from the education department down the line. At the moment, they're saying UNESCO has approved it. Whether that's good enough, I don't know. Mahfouz Rafi, Head of Research at Equal Education. Let's get the news headlines. Here's Ondela.
Thank you, Ashraf. In the news headlines, the Special Investigating Unit says it is expecting to recover about 57 billion rand on wrongful claims that were made in the Unemployment Insurance Fund during the COVID-19 pandemic. The ANC has received just over 12 million rand in donations, the highest, followed by its GNU partner, the DA. This is revealed in the IEC's third quarter political funding donations disclosure report for the financial year 2024-2025. And Canada's most populous province, Ontario, has re-elected the Progressive Conservative Party for the third time. Its leader, Doug Ford, campaigned on a promise to fight Donald Trump's pledge to impose 25% tariffs on Canadian goods. A full update follows at the top of the hour with Greg Hoos.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the N3 northbound queuing towards Buccleuch interchange. The M1 northbound in Woodmead is queuing towards Buccleuch interchange. The N1 southbound in Fairland is queuing. That's towards Bayers Naudé Drive exit, and the M1 southbound queuing towards Omondo. In KZN, the N2 northbound queuing towards Queen Nandi Drive. The N3 westbound has a stationary truck at Cliffdale. The N3 eastbound in Pietermaritzburg is queuing at Allen Payton Road. And the M25 Commercial Highway westbound has a crash reported near the R102 Duffs Road. In Cape Town, the N2 Nelson Mandela Boulevard outbound is slow moving towards Hospital Bend. The M7 Jakes Huddle Drive southbound slow moving towards the R300 Highway. The R300 northbound is queuing on the ramp to the N1 outbound, and the N1 inbound has a crash reported at Joostenburg. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
This is SAFM Sports with Tuming Kapele.
Right, it's a cup knockout time, right?
Yes, it is. And the Premier Soccer League have confirmed dates, venues and kick-off times for the Nedbank Cup quarter-final fixtures. SuperSport United will kick off things when they host defending champions Orlando Pirates at the Old Bitamagava Stadium on the 8th of March. Kick-off is scheduled for 3 p.m. Later that evening, Stellenbosch FC will face Kaizer Chiefs at the Nelson Mandela Bay Stadium with the kick-off set for 6 p.m. And then following this, last season's finalists Mamelodi Sundowns will host the winner of the Milford FC and Skukuni United match at Lucas Muribe Stadium at 8 p.m. The quarterfinals will conclude on the 9th of March with Durban City FC taking on Marumo Gallants at Chetworth Stadium, and kickoff for that match is at 3 p.m. Elsewhere, Fenerbahce have appealed Jose Mourinho's 4-game ban, which was handed to the head coach after the fallout from Monday's goalless draw against rivals Galatasaray. The Portuguese served one of his suspended 4 games last night as he was absent from the bench for their 4-1 win over in the Turkish Cup over Gaziantep. Now, Mourinho was handed the 4-game suspension and fined £35,000 following the fallout at Galatasaray, who accused the 62-year-old for making racist statements. In rugby, the double World Cup winner Handré Pollard is returning to South Africa and he's going to join the Bulls. Now, Pollard, who is out of contract at Leicester Tigers, will be announced formally as a signing by the Bulls tomorrow morning. The star played for the Bulls from 2013 to 2019 before heading to Japan, France and England, and this means that the Bulls will have a backline that will have at least 6 Springboks next season if all the signings are confirmed. In motorsport, reigning MotoGP champion Jorge Martin will miss the first 2 races in Thailand and Argentina after having surgery. Martin underwent surgery to repair fractures in his left foot and left hand following a heavy crash during training in Spain. The 27-year-old also had an operation earlier this month after breaking his right foot and right hand in a crash in Malaysia. Finally, in tennis, Jannik Sinner's nomination for the Laureus World Sportsman of the Year award has been withdrawn. This is after he was given a 3-month doping ban. The world number 1 accepted an immediate 3-month ban from tennis earlier this month after reaching a settlement with the World Anti-Doping Agency over his 2 positive drug tests last year. In a statement, the Laureus Award Academy says that they feel that the 3-month ban renders the nomination ineligible, and the full nominees will be announced on the 3rd of March. On that note, it is a wrap from my side for now.
Okay, so there we are. So we're talking about Handré Pollard playing back for the Bulls. I mean, that's good news.
It's good news for the Bulls, definitely. I think it's something that a lot of people never saw coming because I think there were rumors for him to go to Japan. Yeah. But hey, he's back in Pretoria.
Are you excited? You should be, right? More sports in an hour, yeah?
Yeah.
Andile, the CEO of a multinational corporation, is driving home with his daughter.
Dad, why is the tooth fairy so stingy?
Stingy? Well, she makes sure everyone gets something.
Does every electrical company get something?
Yes, they're covered by Old Mutual Corporate's employee benefits.
Even Abdul?
Of course, he gets retirement benefits.
And Sisampo on that big machine.
She gets group risk cover if that big machine hurts her.
Wow, that's amazing, Dad.
Visit oldmutual.co.za/employee benefits and go from questions to solutions for your employees with Old Mutual Corporate. Old Mutual Life Assurance Company SA Limited is a licensed FSP and life insurer. T's and C's apply.
Over the last 50 years, one man has played an unparalleled part in transforming British society. This man is Rupert Murdoch. Feared by politicians, Murdoch has built the biggest media operation on the planet. His empire has given him extraordinary power and influence. The rise of the Murdoch family is an electrifying study of the Murdoch dynasty, charting the ups and downs of an empire. From the ambition that fueled its success, to the criminality that led to the closure of the News of the World and the Leveson Inquiry. This is The Rise of the Murdoch Family. Thursdays at 10 p.m. starts 13 February, only on S3.
Hi, my name is Kutlwana Masote, your host of Weekend Sundowner Classics every Saturday and Sunday afternoon between the hours of 4 and 7 p.m. exclusively on SAFM. Now, this is where you get your best classical music jams on any radio platform. Join me every Saturday and Sunday afternoon between 4 and 7 p.m. Weekend Sundowner Classics.
Economic news on SAFM. Facts and figures you can count on.
Let's count those numbers with Paswane Mpatlele, Senior Accounts Manager at Makwe Fund Managers. Okay, last day of the week, but you have news about local and global markets.
Definitely, Ashraf. Good afternoon to all your listeners. You know, Ashraf, market pricing has been mixed during the week, but tilting to the weakness that we're seeing in the U.S., that is risk of stagflation. Yes, it did decline based on a January printout from the PC inflation, in line with expectation, declining to on a year-on-year basis 2.5. However, there is underlying risks of, not risks, but more or less a positive turn. Rate cuts could be coming in. However, these are also not overseen till we see the next week based on the tariffs that are still heightened going into a weekend where we're going to expect them next week. Market continue to hold the view of a read and react, but weakness is still the most thing that's taking place because there's a fear gauge that we're seeing through the VIX north of 2020, and the dollar is holding above 107. Yields have eased. Gold has dropped 1% today at 2,850. Oil is citing some sense of positivity, being an importer. Still below, under pressure, down 0.8 today at $72.70. Stock indices reflect concern across the board. We see the US is still flat. We see Europe DAX CAC down 0.3. FTSE is still the only one putting gains, as we've seen the development between the US and UK meeting up and looking positive. JSE declining again, down 0.9%. Weakness for the week is coming through. So resource sectors supporting these down over 1%. Industrials down 0.7. Financials are holding down slightly, but down 0.3. We're looking at our currency space. It's weakness. Dollar is back in the game. 1847. Rand against the euro 1922. Rand against the pound 23.27. Yes, Bitcoin is bearish and it sits around $82,000, and it's down over 2%.
Okay, perfect. Thanks for that. We will connect again on Monday, and you have a great weekend. That's one.
You too.
Absolutely right. What it means is very shortly, it's going to be time for me to get to get a sense of what you feel. I want to feel your pulse. All that comes up just now. But in the meantime, we're going to pick up a story on the Mpumalanga State of the Province address after this.
You are listening to the National Pulse with Ashraf Garda.
So, the Mpumalanga Province Premier is Mandla Ndlovu, who delivered the State of the Province address today. Right now, the Premier addressed a number of issues, including the socio-economic challenges faced by the province, while also highlighting some of his government successes. The SABC News reporter in the region, Motsebi Monareng, filed this report.
Job creation, economic growth, and infrastructure investment were some of the issues Premier Mandla Ndlovu committed his government to. Premier Ndlovu delivered the State of the Province in Mpumalanga. He said his government will partner with private sector to create job opportunities.
The province will focus on driving economic growth to create more jobs opportunities. Over the next 5 years, we'll target economic growth that create approximately 300,000 additional and sustainable work opportunities.
The state of the municipalities is a cause of concern for the provincial government. Ndlovu says plans are underway to assist municipalities in the province. He says all government entities must be able to deliver basic services.
We want to improve our audit outcomes from 5 clean audits to 80% by the end of the MTDP period, at least 8 or more municipalities must also achieve clean audits. We will continue to support municipalities on their financial recovery plan, improve their audit outcome, and assist them to implement their revenue collection strategy.
Opposition parties say the Premier has missed the opportunity to set the province on the right path. They say Ndlovu has failed to address pertinent issues that include provision of clean drinking water. Provincial EFF leader Colin Sedibe.
It was a wish list. Nothing will happen. Premier after Premier came from the first administration. They promised us Umloto corridor. Where's the Umloto corridor? They promised us, or the people of Mpumalanga, dams so that they can have water. Where's the dam? Including Bombela Dam in Mountain View. They're still not here. They promised us the ICC. Where's the ICC? Nothing. So he spoke about the water projects in all the municipalities, but he said they are going to be completed in 2026. People need water now, not in...
Action SA leader Togo Mashiane says it is disappointing that Ndlovu did not speak about the possible reopening of Lily Mine in his plans to create the much-needed jobs.
Nothing new, except there's one thing that I've liked about his speech is that he's involving the private sector, more especially on the infrastructure. But I was disappointed when he spoke about a job creation and spoke about mining without mentioning Lily Mine near Babruk, because I was expecting him to say they're going to open those two mines, retrieve that container, so that we have more jobs around the area. So yeah, that is
the SACP in Mpumalanga is also not impressed. Provincial Chairperson Laki Mbuyane says Ndlovu failed to outline plans to root out corruption in the province.
But what worries us most is the question of the production economy, where our people must participate in the production, because as we're speaking now, 86% of the economy in South Africa still belongs to the hands of the few. The government is only having 14%, and that is not bringing hope to us that a black person will rise up in terms of ownership and control of the economy. So that's where our worry is. But also the issue of corruption in Mpumalanga and the issue of crime. We think the Premier was economically on that issue.
The Premier's address will be debated next week. Mutsibi wa Monareng, Mpumalanga Legislature in Mbombela.
You are listening to the National Pulse with Ashraf Garda.
Okay, let me remind you, Fridays means we have a fireside chat. And Dr. Tessa Dowling joins me on this fireside chat. We're going to talk languages, mother tongue languages. That's a field of expertise, but her own journey, a fascinating journey, which I'm going to strongly suggest that you do not miss. So you join us as well, right? In the meantime, let's get to your thoughts. Younger in Cape Town, go for it.
Hi, sir. How are you?
I'm good indeed. What's your point?
The behavior of AfriForum and Solidarity, really, I used to be angry at them, but now I'm like, they are what they are, but I'm angry at the at the government of national unity to say, but guys, why are you letting, these people continue in this particular fashion, dividing the country? And, the president commented, say, guys, can you please stop what we are doing? And so their response, and they are still adamant. So I blame the government for not dealing with them directly, Just
so what should the government do, Younger? Because this is a constitutional democracy. It's unlike there are many other countries. A president wakes up in the morning and by decree decides what he wants to do, and that's it. What should the government be doing?
I think when they land at the airport, from their trip, state security personnel must be there and arrest them, and charge them with treason, because what they are doing is really treason, And
okay, so you're saying charge them for treason. Okay, got that. Others agree, some people don't. Got that, Younger. Anonymous, let's get your thoughts.
How are you?
Yeah, good. Go ahead.
Yeah, I need to comment about that 8,000 issue that the chiefs and the kings are making people pay when they register.
Yes, that one person called in about, yeah.
Yeah, we have the same problem in our area too. Unfortunately, I won't say where it is because we are the only family that has that problem. We have a farm close to the chief's area. We have a title deed of the farm. It's not under the chief's and everything. But when we went to register for the spaza shop, the guy that's renting our shop, they said they need the chief's letter. And when he went there, they charged him 4,000. So apparently everyone is not getting that letter until they pay the 4,000.
Well, that's disturbing. It really is. And maybe that's a story we must pick up on and develop over the next week or so. Thanks for that call, Anonymous. Right, let's get another anonymous caller who wants to comment on those guest houses we've been speaking about. Hello.
Yes, Ashraf, how are you?
I'm good indeed. Go for it. Your point?
Yeah, I think the issue of guest houses shouldn't grow out of proportion. As a private sector person, as a contractor, I also travel a lot and get these guest houses. Sometimes you find that they offer you cash, and it is them who determines how much they give you sometimes. And I think it shouldn't grow out of proportion that people are just exporting. Maybe if there's that case, it must be investigated. But fact needs to be established. I'll give you another example. There are some hotels, actually, that will give you a voucher but not in cash form. Then
I think we just lost that call. I'm not too sure what happened there. There's further comments. Ashraf, that's not new. Haven't you heard of Travelgate? Okay, thanks for that reminder. And there's more. Let me pick up some of the voice notes from yourself. Right, here's one.
Hi, Ashraf. Yeah, if you have a government, decisive leadership, then people will spend money to come in your country and come and explain why they are doing things the way they do. But if you don't have government, no leadership, you are in the wilderness, then people will come in your country and do as they please, like what they are doing in South Africa. They will dictate terms to you in your own country.
Well, are they not explaining things? Do you find there's a lack of explanation? I wonder. Okay, more calls from you in a moment.
Dr. Nikki Alexander, Dr. Thomas Chamberlain, and Dr. Jack Hodgson form a dedicated team of forensic pathologists who try to work out how and why the victim died. This series sees Nikki investigate a murder that's a carbon copy of a case from her past. She soon suspects that the killings are personal to her. But who will believe her? Meanwhile, Jack creates tension when he finds himself aligned with a police complaints investigator over the accidental shooting of a girl by armed police. And a seemingly random killing in the remote countrysides leads Nikki and Jack into the dangerous underbelly of a criminal world. This is Silent Witness, Thursdays and Fridays at 10 p.m. Starts 20 February only on S3. Open up.
V up your February with great value deals from Vodacom Business. Meet the new Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra featuring integrated Galaxy AI. Get it on a Red Business 1.5 gig plan for only 1,539 Rand per month over 24 months. Enhance your deal. Add 69 Rand extra per month and get the Samsung Galaxy Watch 7 eSIM. Available in-store and online. T's and C's apply. Further together. Vodacom Business.
Every person, no matter who you are, what music you're inclined to listen to, and what you do with your weekends. You need a weekend playlist. It's that musical mix of music that accompanies the lazy weekends, whether catching up with friends and family or just taking some time to reflect. Tune in to The Soundtrack of Your Life with me, Ernest Pillay, Saturdays and Sundays, 1 to 4 on SAFM.
You're listening to the National Pulse.
Okay, let's get further comments. And there's lots of thoughts on the vouchers and that desk, the fully branded desk too.
Hello, Ashraf.
this time in East London. Hey, Ashraf, poverty can make you do strange things, né? This thing has been happening for years and years. I'm very grateful that it has come up on the surface today. It's been happening. And I don't understand why these government officials would do such, because they are getting paid very well, these guys. So it's more like killing the small businesses the way they are doing this thing. They are very, very selfish. There's no other way to explain it. It's selfishness. Think about themselves.
But you do have to wonder, certainly from a government point, how come that culture has been allowed to continue?
So look, man, no, this guy from Equal Education has no question point here. This is so contradictory. He's saying that there's 2 million this short, but there's a solution. The private sector is giving a solution. It's saving now the department money, which they probably don't have. They don't have the money even to pay teachers, so they don't have the money to buy this. So there's a solution. It's innovative. I mean, these kids, all of us see McDonald's every day. All of us see Old Mutual every day. All of us see Hollywood every day. So I think it's innovative from the minister. I like her, and that's how she's good forward. If they can leverage from the private sector, why not? No, man, there's nothing here.
Okay, I hear your point. There's nothing here. I think there must be a balance. Principally, I agree with you that in the absence of government being able to sort out so many things, and we know this every single day, we have no money. We have to find other ways to effectively ensure that various sectors like education are up to scratch, right? But in terms of getting government or public support, in terms of corporate South Africa, when the branding is in your face and it's Hollywood Bets, just think about that, Hollywood Bets at a school or McDonald's, and the point he made about the World Cup and McDonald's and maybe others, like, you have to wonder, where do you draw a line? And that's an interesting one.
Hi, Ashraf. Government employees are extortionists in many instances. Can you imagine those that are not paid when they have submitted their claims, but government employees would want to wait for them to pay a particular fee so that their payments are processed? We're in trouble. What is government going to do about that? Lerato Mhluz. Thank you.
Are we saying all government employees? Can't be all, can it? I hear you, however.
Ashraf, good afternoon, Salam. I just wanted to say there's a Gaza docket that was opened so many years ago of 72 names of people who participated as South Africans in the Israeli atrocities. The Gaza docket has all the details and the information. I hope that this is played. Thank you.
Okay, so yours is a reminder to say, look into it. Okay, it's thanks for the reminder. Here's another.
Greetings, Ashraf. I'm so glad that people like us are standing. They're speaking up about these things. It's been happening, and you know how tough it is for businesses. They try their level best to give the best service. And when things like this come up, the last thing you want in your establishment is not to have people coming into your business. So I'm glad that people are also start naming and shaming these people. Let's gather people, good people in business. Let's put these people out. It's time now to do clean business, once and for all.
Okay, that line's not very clear, I'm afraid, but I hear that. Here's another.
Ashraf, it's Chris in Kapata. Why are we giving so much airtime to Freedom Front Plus and Solidarity? In fact, while they were away, the country should have revoked their passports and their identities so that they remain in the US as stateless. That is exactly what they did to our people, and that is exactly what they deserve for what they are doing.
Okay, can we be I'm not saying you can't voice your anger, but I just think in South Africa there are procedures. You can't literally just, arbitrarily decide what to do, can you? Here's another, also on AfriForum.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. I'm hoping that you are well. Ashraf, even though I'm total against what the AfriForum is doing, but there are political leaders that are always using a divisive language whenever they are given an opportunity to talk. I think they can still achieve their political goals without using divisive languages. I mean, the leaders like EFF leader and Andile Mngxitama, I think they can still achieve their political goals without using those divisive kind of languages when they are in the public space. Thank you, Ashraf.
Well, I mean, I think it's maybe a conversation for next week, isn't it? That, the language all political leaders use, how far can they say it's only talk?
Good afternoon, Ashraf. Wellington here. I don't understand the beef of the lady who's representing women on tourism. What do they lose because they get their money? It was not something that they should have come and talked about on a national broadcaster. If she wanted to refuse, she must just refuse the deal, and that's it. Because those people, they give them those vouchers and they don't lose anything.
Okay, so it's a case of if they benefit, just shut up. Okay, right. Let's leave it at that, because now on a Friday we go full scale into what we call the fireside chat. So I have a guest who's quite the expert in the isiXhosa language and more, Dr. Tessa Dowling. Looking forward to that conversation. Let's get the news now. Here's Greg Host. It's 5 o'clock.
Thank you, Ashraf. In this news update, millions to be recovered over UIF fraud and gift to the givers to distribute thousands of meals. Good day to you. The SIU says expecting to recover about 57 billion rand in wrongful claims made in the Unemployment Insurance Fund during the COVID pandemic. The unit says the envisaged recovery relates to the fraudulent payments of the Temporary Employer-Employee Relief Scheme to government employees. The SIU is giving an update in Parliament on the status of some of its investigations. The SIU's Zodwa Tibe.
Then the ad hoc matters that fell within the ambit of the proclamation, they are currently being investigated by different provinces. The investigation into 1,100 entities that claimed for tax benefits with a potential recovery of 7.2 billion. It's now commencing. It has commenced. This is the data that we extracted by as the SIU through our FODAT division.
The ANC's received just over 12 million rand in donations, the highest, followed by its GNU partner, the DA. This is revealed in the IEC's third quarter political funding donations disclosure report for the financial year 2024-25. Natasha Piri reports.
Whilst the DA received over 4 million rand from the Frederick Newman Foundation, Main Street 1564 and Danish Liberal Democracy Programme, amongst others. The Referendum Party, an unrepresented political party established last year by Phil Craig, came in third, declaring just under R1 million, whilst Musi Maimani's Build One South Africa received a donation of over 160,000 rand from Conrad Adenauer Stifting. Meanwhile, foreign donations constituted 11% of the total value of donations declared for the quarter. The DA and BOSA declared these. Natasha Piri, SABC News, Johannesburg.
Collins Chobani Municipality in Malumulele in Limpopo says they didn't approve applications by some spaza shops due to outstanding documents. Today's the last day for owners of spaza shops to register. The municipality's Robert Matje.
We have received 873 applications, of which 126 were rejected or disapproved. After the deadline, the compliance team, which includes stakeholders like SARS, Home Affairs, SAPS, health inspectors, will be all out ensuring that law is being enforced to illegal spaza owners.
Meanwhile, the Thulamela municipality outside Thohoyandou says they'll work with law enforcement officials to close down all unlicensed spaza shops after the deadline, which is today, roughly now 5 o'clock. Spokesperson for the municipality, Indwa Matashila.
We received 293 sponsorship applications. From those 293, only 74 were approved, meaning 219 were not approved because there were some outstanding documents.
The Gift of the Givers spokesperson Ali Sablay says 75,000 meals will be distributed during the month of Ramadan in the Western Cape. The Muslim community is expected to start fasting within the next 24 hours. Sablay says they'll be feeding close to 80,000 people.
Gift of the Givers will also extending or providing that Cape Townian atmosphere core, which is known as hookah. So we'll be having mass hookah in socio-economic areas every weekend in the month of Ramadan. That will be providing additional 10,000 meals. These 21 centers will be feeding for the month of Ramadan close to 80,000 people. We know it's a very challenging time for them since COVID-19 pandemic. We started off with 5 feeding centers. We are currently on 21 and the number is just growing. There are those that we are supporting once off, but these facilities will come every week to our warehouse to collect these ingredients to feed their communities.
Finally, Canada's most populous province, Ontario, has re-elected the Progressive Conservative Party for the third time. Its leader, Doug Ford, campaigned on a promise to fight US President Donald Trump's pledge to impose 25% tariffs on Canadian goods. He spoke in his celebratory speech.
Donald Trump thinks he can break us. He thinks he can divide and conquer, pit region against region. Donald Trump doesn't know what we know. He is underestimating us. He is underestimating the resilience of the Canadian people.
The top story, the SIU says expecting to recover about 57 billion rand in wrongful claims made through the UIF during the COVID-19 pandemic. That's SAFM News, I'm Greg Hoos.
In Sports, Nedbank Cup quarterfinals dates and venues confirmed. Van der Dussen says no extra motivation needed to play England. Handré Pollard returns to South Africa and Laureus withdraws Sinner's nomination for Sportsman of the Year. More details at 5:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the N1 southbound in Roodepoort has a stationary vehicle reported after the Albertina Sisulu Road exit. The N3 southbound in Germiston is queuing towards Elands Interchange. The M1 southbound queuing towards Boysons. In Midrand, the N1 southbound has a crash after New Road exit, and the N1 northbound queuing towards Samrand Road. In KZN, Umgeni Road westbound slow moving through Springfield Park. The M25 Commercial Highway westbound has a crash near the R101 Duffs Road, and the N2 northbound queuing towards Queen Nandi Drive. In Cape Town, the N1 outbound has heavy traffic reported towards Brighton Road, so consider using alternative routes. The N2 outbound has heavy delays towards Spine Road exit, so consider using alternative route options there as well. The M5 southbound is slow moving towards the N2 highway, and the N7 northbound slow moving towards Plattekloof Road. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
Stay safe on the roads. SAFM is with you.
Hey there! Need to know your TV license balance but don't want to wait? No sweat! Just send a quick SMS with your ID or TV license number to 44210. Remember, standard SMS rates apply. And presto, your balance pops right up anytime, anywhere. It's as easy as pie. So why procrastinate? Give it a try and get your info in a flash. T's and C's apply.
CFI, a global leader in online trading, is now in South Africa. Access 15,000 plus instruments, currencies, stocks, metals, crypto CFDs, indices, futures, and more on world-class platforms. Enjoy zero pip spreads, no commission fees, and 24/7 support for confident trading. Visit cfi.trade for a secure, transparent trading experience. Don't miss the National Pulse with Ashraf Garda, Tuesdays at 16:45, proudly sponsored by CFI. CFI Financial, an authorized financial services provider. T's and C's apply.
SAFM would like to thank everyone that submitted their entries for the playwriting competition. The announcement of the top 10 and winners of the competition will be announced on the 3rd of March 2025 on The Talking Point with Kathy Mutlatlana. Stay tuned to SAFM and find out who is the lucky winner. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda on SAFM. You're listening to the National Pulse. Weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
So it's the last hour of the show on a Friday, and as you know, every Friday we have this fireside chat. We speak to a person that in many ways makes an impression nationally, and we have a chat about many things, some serious, some not so serious, and it's great that you can join us on this. My guest today is Dr. Tessa Dowling, and we talked to her. I mean, she's done many, many things, but she's an acclaimed isiXhosa lecturer, and she's won awards for her work. She's really renowned in that space. She's a senior lecturer in the African Languages section of the School of Languages and Literature at the University of Cape Town. So great to have you with us, Dr. Tessa Dowling. I should say, Molo Unjani.
Pila Butu Unjani wena.
No, well, there you are. You're going to teach us all this. I'll say India, Pila, Nami. That's as far as I can go, right?
Lovely.
Wonderful to talk to you. And hopefully we will go along with these conversations all throughout the next 45, 50 minutes or so. But let's start with this. First of all, it's a wonderful privilege to talk to you. And it almost sounds bizarre me asking you this because you're a South African and you're fluent in a South African language. And yet, because you don't come from a Xhosa background, many people would naturally find it like surprising to the point like, look at her, it's like a novelty. How do you respond to that sort of novelty response that you get, I'm sure, ever so often?
Well, there are two things. It can be a real ego boost, from ordinary people who just like, you are, and, it's this fantastic response. And then, of course, when my students who are actually mother tongue speakers of Xhosa, but they come to do it as a second language because they've actually never studied it formally, then they come into my class and they see who they get. An aging, white woman. And that is like genie as well, but a little bit more suspicious. And then what I like to do on both sides is just say, what can I learn from you? I mean, first of all, I say to people, you surprise in the street or in Checkers or, just ordinary people who I meet who speak Xhosa, you speak English perfectly. So why are you surprised that, that I speak your language? And then they kind of nod and they go, it's true, hey? I speak English. No one, rolls out the red carpet for me. But somehow I get this wonderful reaction. And then with the students, the young students who are Xhosa speakers, they love the fact that I know how to write the language, explain its grammar, introduce them to ways of looking at it that allow them to see it as important. Like English departments have thousands of students, but so few in African languages. And then Absolutely. You get this feeling that you're creating, well, not a hype, but an interest in the language because you are a second language speaker.
Well, it's interesting you say so because, at the time when democracy just dawned, it was around the same time, maybe a few years later, that my kids started going to school. And like it was very obvious, you need to learn let's call it a black language. You need to learn an African language. So it's obvious that they got something for, like in isiZulu or isiXhosa. Yes, they must sign up. And of course, I'm talking of in Johannesburg, in the northern suburbs, and very quickly you realize that those schools didn't have the teachers to be able to do just that. And I have a sense that division has perpetuated all throughout the last 3 decades.
You're so right. And I think, did you see your kids' textbooks? Did you see what they brought home when they were
well at that time it was very, very basic, and then unfortunately then they had to stop that because there were just no teachers for the higher standards. So they did like maybe 1 year at grade 1 or grade 2 at a very basic level, and that was the end of the conversation. And they are the losers for that, I may add.
You are so right. And yet, even that little bit that they got, even if they got, and that always I find so surprising, if I have a class of 100 students and maybe 5 of them did a year at school, or just they go, oh, but I didn't do much, they immediately stand out. They've got something. They know how to greet. They've got an idea of how the language works a little bit. So I would always encourage schools, even if you can only get it in a little bit of the time, even if you're getting somebody who's still training, these teachers on the whole, the little time that they get given, they do quite a good job, but they do need the training and they need the backup in terms of textbooks and parent support. But I can imagine as a parent, like for you, it must have been so disappointing that it got closed down.
Yeah, well, it was very exciting at that stage. As I said, the dawn of democracy, new country.
Yeah.
And then very quickly realize you have to be practical. So you sign up for second language Afrikaans, which is not the plan, Yeah.
Yes.
So that reflects the divides we have, which then brings me on to the serious issue in terms of the mother tongue language month that, many people have been, I don't know whether you call it celebrating or being reminded of, right? Are you surprised that, 30 years into democracy, that still, that whether it's government or the education departments, they haven't been able to export, let's say, one or two mother tongues that are predominantly amongst black South Africans, let's say isiXhosa, your language, or isiZulu, or maybe others, to the rest of the population who were not speaking that language before. That means we're nowhere near where we should be.
You're right. We are nowhere near where we should be. And we do have to self-reflect on that as educators, as academics, to know why do we, you're right. And I think with that self-reflection, when I have postgraduate students and they want to research a piece of literature that has been researched for the last 50 years, I try and say to them, would you not rather like to research the way the language is being used, the way people are speaking it? Because until we can teach the language the way people actually speak it, it's going to put people off. And I think people will come into a class and they'll think, oh, no. This is too difficult. This is not the way. And then they go home and they try and use it, and everyone says, this is your sinzi, it's very difficult, this Xhosa you're learning. And so I think that it comes from a basis of science, actually, a kind of scientific examination of the language. And I know this might sound boring to some people, but once you know that is how it works, this is how we can teach it so that it comes alive, that it just sort of bursts into people's minds as, yes, this is what I'm hearing out there. And this is how I can put it together in a logical way, because these people have researched it and they know how it works. I think that makes a big, big difference. And I'm trying to get my postgraduate students to do that kind of research. And I think it's working. Because what they do, for example, I've recently had a student who's researched how many syllables get chopped off in Xhosa when people speak, just normal speed. And it's chunks, many syllables, yes. And so then we have now made this part of our course, and how you listen. And I think that is the other thing that I would like to teach, is how you listen. And then how you speak.
Okay, so much to learn from that, believe me. Probably want to talk about any national plans just now, but let's look at where you are now. So, of course, you can speak the language. I mean, so you speak isiXhosa, I got that. Do you speak other African or black languages?
Ke batla ho bua Sesotho, kodwa ha ke sisibi hantle. Father, I can remember. I would love to speak. But I love Sotho. I mean, wow, the French of African languages, most romantic language. And when we had to, when you're doing your masters and doctorate, you are forced to do other African languages, and you fall in love with them. Every single African language that I have even just had a small introduction to has opened up a side of my personality that I didn't sort of know was there. Like there's a whimsical softness in Sotho, romance in it that is comes alive when you learn it. And then when you learn Lozi, the language of the Caprivi Strip, in southern Zambia, something else, something almost artisanal about it, the way all those fish baskets that I remember learning about, the whole fishing culture, again, what you learn in the culture. So, I think that the more you open yourself up to learning an African language, the more you learn about yourself and about the language and other people.
So what what drew you to learning these languages? Not just learning it to the point where, I mean, it's what you do now, right? You are defined by that. What's your story?
I was going to be a nun, and I went to Truly, and I went to a convent, and one of the novitiates, the trainee nuns there, she was at UCT, and she had a book full of her Xhosa homework, and I remember looking at it and thinking, I want this more than becoming a nun. I want this language. I really, really desire it, and asked her about it, and she explained, in her Irish, voice about what she was doing there. And I thought, wow, you don't have to you don't have to be cloistered. You can be out in the world and listening and have this almost like a religious feeling about a language.
But what about it? I mean, at that time you didn't know the isiXhosa language, so why?
I didn't.
So why were you so drawn to it without knowing it? Like what was your appeal at that time?
She had I remember she had a list of nouns, and she had the prefix, and then she had the noun stem, and she had colored, she had colored it in. And it was absolutely elegant. It had an elegance to it that English doesn't have. If you put a whole bunch of English words down, nothing would connect. Table, laptop, cup, nothing sounds the same. But there was, umfundi, umzali, umfundisi, all these And then she had a circle around those, and those said people. Anything that starts with people. I thought, wow. That's nice.
Wow.
It was a strange love affair. Falling in love.
Okay, so you fell in love with the language. The did it for you, right? And then what happened? Then what happened next? I mean, so one is like,
well, of course,
there's the intention. Then you did what?
I didn't become a nun, and I also dropped out of university. I was doing all the wrong subjects even after that. So my journey was very limping, becoming a Kelly girl. We didn't have any money. I'm one of 8 children. It was that kind of a journey, but just sort of thinking, well, I know what I ultimately want is the and then just going for that, going back to the department when I had saved enough money to study, and going into the Department of African Languages, knocking on the door, and Professor Chopoli, who was Sotho, saying, now, Nankumlungu, sort of in Sotho, here's a what do you want? And I said, I want to learn African languages. And just this welcome, this absolutely, you come, you be you. You come and tell us about what you want to do. And it was so open and embracing. And that's how it was in African languages. And people still say when they come into African languages, into our department, it is a very embracing culture. We know who our students are. We follow their journeys. And then I did honors. I did drama as well. And I was so happy. But I could never really speak it very well until I did my master's. Because we got taught it just in a grammatical way.
Yeah.
And then when I did my master's, my prof said, no, you've got to go and live in a village. And that was a hectic experience, but a most wonderful experience.
So which village, where did you go to? Which village did you go to?
I stayed in Kanduli. In Kanduli, I stayed with the Minister of Health. Somebody put me in touch, whose daughter's name was Gunti. I remember I couldn't even pronounce her name properly. And it was incredible. It was such an experience to go out and do the research and to be so bad at it. I think at every single level. And this is what I want to say to everybody out there. I think that there is the sense when you speak English, you're so good at English. When you learn an African language, you're so not good at it for so long. And it's that not being good at a thing that makes you more human and makes you more in touch with 70% of the population in this country who've had to learn English, who've had to be not good at it, and who've yet had to force themselves to learn it more, to listen to English radio, to do the things that make you better at a language. And I think that forced me to do that. And so I carried on until when I got to doctoral level, I was having conversations, making 2 hours of Xhosa radio listening, a day, at least 1 hour a day, transcribing everything I listened to. Then it became like serious.
Okay. And at the time when you decided, and of course we're going to talk about it, you fell in love with the Ooms, right? And you decided that's what you want to do. I mean, what was the response from, say, your family or maybe your friendship circle? Because I'm asking that because I would think that at that stage you would have known if you want to fully embrace this language, you're going to have to fully embrace the culture.
Yes, you're right. And I'm so glad you're asking, how did people react? Because on the whole, people reacted either with a kind of like, it's an oddity. It's really odd for you to want to do that. It's not going to make you any money. It's not going to take you anywhere. Why don't you rather write English textbooks? And I had to say that's not where, my love is. I want to do this. And just to believe in that. And then their reactions were also strangely, well, she's always been quite left. I don't know what that had to do with anything,
Like, why are you surprised? She's a leftist, yeah.
Yes, why are you surprised? She's like, lefty, and I, obviously was politically, involved, but not very. You'd find me in the stack rooms at UCT looking at old Xhosa dictionaries, and then running in to join the marches and things like that. But I was, I didn't mind. And most of my life, I haven't minded what people thought about my choice not to get married, not to have children. You know that's a thing in life, and people, you don't follow the norm, and that's okay. You've got to listen to, the drummer you hear, as my mother used to say. You listen to the drummer you hear.
Well, fascinating. We are chatting to Dr. Tessa Dowling, who's she's got a PhD in African languages, and she lectures therefore at UCT, and I think the speciality is isiXhosa. As always, maybe we got time for maybe 3 quick calls or WhatsApp, so if you're up for it, that's fine. 086 000 2032. Very often when we talk on the Fireside Chat, it's very much, what would be wonderful if somebody actually knows Tessa Dowling, like, personally. It's just great if you're like, hey, let me give you a shout out because I know you and I know your journey. Not exclusively, but if that's the case, that's great too. You can also tweet, right? Just tag SFM Radio on the X platform and then myself, Ashraf Garda. So, Tessa, so now, I mean, you currently lecture. So one thing is learning the language all those years ago. Now it's your vocation, right?
It is your vocation. And along with your vocation, you're also, growing as a person. You're reading widely, you know, different authors, Iranian authors, Israeli authors. You're reading Sindiwe Magona in both, Xhosa and English. Atambile Masola is a wonderful new book of poetry, and you actually want to bring all the things you're reading, your life experiences to the class, and then something tells you, no, these people have come to class to learn the very thing that you have now done for 26, 30 years, and you've got to be humble and teach them that, but listen to them and what they need to learn. So there's a part of you that almost has to become smaller. Well, I'm small enough anyway as a person, but like hearing why they need it, hearing why do you need to learn it, and how can I teach it in a way that actually reaches you, this generation of Xhosa learners who are different from the ones I had 20 years ago. So I constantly revise the way I teach, the materials I use, and the songs I bring into class, the poetry, the humor, and I think that keeps it alive, because yes, it is my vocation, but a part of you is kind of steeped in your latest PhD student who you're supervising, or just something random that you're doing in life, and you think, just before I go into a class, I say, don't ramble to myself. And then I say, love them, and I kind of give myself little mantras. So I do that.
Well, there you go. Good reminders. In fact, here's a call from someone who needs some advice. So, and from you, not from me, okay? In Tutuko, in Kadeha. Go ahead, hello. No, in fact, we'll do that just now, right? So, okay, we'll get to that in a moment or so. So, maybe here's the serious point. We've touched on it just now already, but what for you is like the big challenge in South Africa? If you're at the ear of the president and you could wish whatever you wanted, what would you wish for? What would you want to do?
I would want to really stress that we need to be a multilingual country, and that English and Afrikaans speakers and Sotho speakers and Swati speakers and Ndebele speakers need to learn each other's languages, because there's something very alive when you get into a classroom and you have a Sotho and a Tswana speaker saying, when I go, oh yeah, you know Xhosa, and they go, no, I don't. I'm a Tswana speaker. And recognizing that multilingualism, and we say, okay, well, if you need to learn Xhosa, let's research it and present it as a second language, the most beautiful way we can, the most elegant way that we can present it and teach it to all of our students, bringing them together with their different resources, linguistic resources that they bring to the classroom. I would say to the president, if you could research just a tiny, if you could donate or make available to researchers of African languages, just a tiny bit of your budget, so that we can look at how the language is changing. In my sabbatical now, I will be writing a book on language change in Xhosa. That is what I have said I would do in my sabbatical, and that is what I am going to do.
So just before we get on to Newstime, then very quickly, when you talk about multilingualism, I mean, I think we know what it means, but in practical terms, when you say become a multilingual country or society, right? Now it's impossible, I would think, for most people to learn 10 languages or 11, right? So practically, if you just said in one line, multilingualism means what?
Knowing a language other than your own and in your own language family. So if you know English and Afrikaans, that's from a particular language family. They are both share, and a language family that they belong to that is different to the African language family. And so it's not enough to say English and Afrikaans. If you learn, if you know a Bantu language, which is not a nice term, I know, but it is a linguistic term, and then you say, well, I know a Sotho language and I know English, then learn an Nguni language as well.
Okay.
So it would be just learning, if we're going down in the language families, let's look at Sotho and Nguni.
Now, I can imagine those who don't know it say, but that's so daunting. We'll put that to you just now, right? We'll put that to you just now. Let's get the news headlines. Here's Greg House.
In the headlines, the Justice Minister says a legislative review of the Sexual Offences and Related Matters Act is needed. The SIU says expecting to recover about 57 billion rand in wrongful claims that were made with the Unemployment Insurance Fund. And a suicide attack at a school in Pakistan known for educating Taliban leaders has killed at least 6 people. There's an update at the top of the hour.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the M1 southbound in central Johannesburg, slow moving towards Crown Interchange. The N12 R24 westbound in Bedfordview has a crash reported at Kilulis Interchange. All lanes are open. And Main Road in Loneal has flooding reported at Yexke River Bridge. In KZN, the N2 northbound queuing on the off-ramp to the M25 Commercial Highway. The N3 westbound has a stationary truck reported at Cliffdale. The N3 westbound in Camperdown is queuing towards Umlaus Road. In Cape Town, the R300 southbound slow moving towards the N2 highway. The N2 Nelson Mandela Boulevard outbound slow moving towards Hospital Bend. The M5 southbound is slow moving towards the N2 highway. And the N7 northbound slow moving towards Plattekloof Road. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
This is SAFM Sports with Tuming Kapele.
Right, to me, let's talk football.
Yes, the Premier Soccer League has confirmed dates, venues and kick-off times for the Nedbank Cup quarter-final fixtures. SuperSport United will kick off things when they host defending champions Orlando Pirates at the old Peter Mokaba Stadium on the 8th of March, and kick-off is at 3 p.m. Later that evening, Stellenbosch FC will face Kaizer Chiefs at the Nelson Mandela Bay Stadium, and kick-off is set for 6 p.m. Following this, last season's finalists Mamelodi Sundowns will host the winner of the Milford FC and Skukuna United match at Lucas Moripe Stadium at 8 p.m. Now, the quarterfinals will conclude on the 9th of March when Durban City FC takes on Marumo Gallants at Chetworth Stadium. Kickoff at 3 p.m. Still staying with football, Kaizer Chiefs mentor Nazruddin Nabi says that he's quite confident that they stand a better chance to beat Mamelodi Sundowns this time around. Sundowns host somewhat indifferent Chiefs at a sold-out Lucas Moripe Stadium tomorrow, and Chiefs have not beaten Sundowns in almost 4 years now, having lost one game against them with a 2-1 win under coach Gavin Hunt back in 2021. Now, Coach Mangoba Mngeti was still in charge of the Brazilians in the first two matches when they beat Chiefs 2-1 and 4-0 respectively. And here's Nabi just looking back at those two matches.
I think the first game, honestly, I knew the game, but minimum is nil-nil. You know, you remember this game. For second game, I remember the time of the second game we played today, like last game. We played today before. I think I play in Bloemfontein or
yeah, I think Bloemfontein.
Polokwane, I don't know.
Yeah,
Polokwane.
I think Bloemfontein.
Yes, and the team is come very, very tired in Jobor, and is off day. Physically, mentally is off day. And this moment, Mr. Muteba, my colleague, all the respect for him, he's prepared very good this game. This seriously game, like a Champions League game. And honestly, my team, my squad, in this moment, we are out and off day, out, tactically or out, physically, mentally out.
Elsewhere, Sundowns coach Miguel Cardoso says that from what he knows about his counterpart Nabi, the Betway Premiership clash will not be one-sided.
No, he will not change nothing on his general approach on the team. He can strategically, obviously, adapt certain principles like ourselves can adapt. He's not any kid that is coaching on football for the first time. I have a big respect for him. And he knows what he's doing, and he wants to develop his team. That's what he wants, because he's preparing also the future of the club and of the team.
In rugby, double World Cup winner Handré Pollard is returning to South Africa to join the Bulls. Pollard, who is out of contract at Leicester Tigers, will be announced formally as a signing by the Bulls tomorrow morning. The star played for the Bulls back in 2013 to 2019 before heading to Japan, France and England. And this means that the Bulls will have a backline that will have at least 6 Springboks next season if all signings are confirmed. In cricket, the Proteas have not played since their tournament opener against Afghanistan after their tie with Australia was washed out on Tuesday, and they back in action tomorrow against England. And Proteas batter Rassie van der Dussen admits that they could do with some momentum from beating the English. In motorsport, reigning MotoGP champion Jorge Martin will miss the first 2 races in Thailand and Argentina after having surgery. Martin underwent surgery to repair fractures in his left foot and left hand following a heavy crash during training in Spain, and the 27-year-old also had an operation earlier this month after breaking his right foot and right hand in a crash in Malaysia. Then finally, in tennis, Jannik Sinner's nomination for the Laureus World Sportsman of the Year award has been withdrawn. This is after he was given a 3-month doping ban. The world number 1 accepted an immediate 3-month ban from tennis earlier this month after reaching a settlement with the World Anti-Doping Agency over his 2 positive drug tests last year. And in a statement, the Laureus Awards Academy say that they feel that the 3-month ban renders the nomination ineligible, and the full nominees will be announced on the 3rd of March. And I think it's only fair.
You think it's fair?
I think it's only fair that now that he's serving a 3-month ban, how do we still celebrate him at the Laureus Awards?
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Suspended, yeah. Is that it?
That's it.
We need to
from
ask
my
you, what's
side.
your plans for the weekend or else? Yeah?
My plans for the weekend: to watch the Proteas, to watch Kaizer Chiefs and Mamelodi Sundowns, but most importantly, the Hollywood Bet Super League is back, and I will be down at UJ working on that game on Sunday.
So you're watching cricket and soccer tomorrow.
And then on Sunday,
working on Sunday,
JVW versus the Azamvelo Women's FC. The first game around 11, and the second game is UJ versus University of Cape Town.
Okay, fantastic. Great. Well done. And I think you're playing a very important role in being this champion of women's football. Need I say that? Yeah.
Looking forward to it.
Perfect. Here we are.
With that said, Modimo.
Economic news on SAFM. Facts and figures you can count on.
Right, let's get to, I was going to say let's get to the weekend. Let's get to Jimmy Moya. Jimmy, you don't have a show after 6 o'clock, but you still have your eye on what's moving markets, right?
I certainly have. Good afternoon, Ashraf. Good afternoon to the listeners. The markets have closed out the day in a red territory, closing out the month in a very bizarre fashion as well. If we look at Asian markets and European markets, Asian markets were, by and large, actually all of them were in the red. The Nikkei, losing about 2.9% there, the Shanghai index 1.9%, but the Hang Seng in Hong Kong, the biggest loser, down 3.3% on the day. The ASX in Sydney was down 1.16%. European markets were down slightly less, with the CAC 40 down 0.33%, the DAX in Germany down 0.4%, and the FTSE actually gaining 0.4%. US markets at the moment are in the green. The S&P is up about 0.25%, and the NASDAQ up about 0.33%. If we look at local markets, they closed out in the red. The biggest loser there being the resource counters. The resources sector was down 3.2%, largely driven by what we've been seeing on the commodities side of things. The gold price down about more than 2% at $2,842 a fine ounce. The Brent crude price down about 1.2% at $73 an ounce. We're never complaining about that one. But platinum and palladium also down. Palladium closer to $900 a fine ounce, and platinum $940, down about 3%. At some point in this month, those were both above $1,000 an ounce. So the resources sector definitely feeling the pinch there. Industrials down 1.3% for the day. Financials down 1.18%. The all share as a result was down 1.58%, and the top 40 was down about 1.67%. So not a very good close to the month for our local indices. If we look at currencies before we go, the rand back at 18 rand and 50 cents against the US dollar. 1 British pound will cost you 23 rand and 35 cents. 1 euro, 19 rand and 27 cents. Interestingly enough, 1 Bitcoin is back at $84,000. Yes, below $90,000, around 1.55 million. At some point, we were closer to the 2 million rand mark. We're now closer to the 1.5 million rand mark. So we're going to look and see how the month of March kicks off. But certainly some big movements to close out the month of February. I think it's fitting that it ends out on a Friday. We'll start the new month in a new week and look to see how that month shapes up. For now, Ashraf, back to you.
Okay, perfect. You have a great weekend, and we will connect on Monday. I know that. Thanks, Jimmy. Right. What I'll do, we're going to go back to my guest, Dr. Tessa Dowling. As I said, maybe 3 calls I can take maximum. So if you're up for it, call in now.
The National Pulse, weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
Okay, so we do have a few calls. Let's get them very quickly. In Tutuko, in Kadeja, you wanted to comment. You need some advice, right? Go for it.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. I just want to get some advice from the Prof.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I'm interested in doing translation studies. I have a BA honors in theology. I do understand that it's a different, even though in the arts, but it's a different field. But I just want to understand what advice the Prof can give to me, because I want to go into translation studies.
Okay, just hold on. Let's get a response. Prof. Dowling? Dr. Dowling?
As far as I know, I think the University of the Free State offers the most sophisticated postgrad courses in translation studies. I'm trying to think if Rhodes also. I know at UCT we definitely do, some options on translation in our honors courses. But you can, I think, at the University of the Free State, do your entire postgrad in translation studies. And I think translation is so important because, you're not just translating, words, you're translating sometimes like a way of seeing the world. You're translating different varieties. What is going to work for your target audience? Who are you translating for? Are these for academics, or are these for people, who not as literate, who are obviously orally very literate, but who need it in a Xhosa that is much more colloquial. So one of the things I do quite a lot is back translating, and that is something that you should do in your translation studies, which is look at what does that translation, which is often very standard Xhosa or standard Sotho, translated back into, and sometimes it doesn't make as much sense as the person who is in touch with the way people speak. But you would learn all of that in translation studies.
Okay.
I think it's a fantastic career to take, and great that you are thinking of that.
Okay. You got that in Tutuko? Yeah?
Yes,
All
I
right.
got that. I'm just wondering, is there a way maybe to communicate with the doc, maybe
Okay.
after the...
Let me do this. I'll make sure you can give out the details just now. All right? I'll do that.
Excellent.
Okay? Perfect. Right. Let's get another caller, Solomzine in Guguletu. Go for it.
Hello, Ashraf.
Yeah, how's
this
it
is
going?
Solom Ziyapi. Yes, Doctor, I'd like you to correct Ashraf there because he is making the same mistake that is being made by many people who are learning Xhosa. He is not supposed to say Xhosa when he is speaking English because Xhosa is different rules of grammar. The reason is that in Xhosa, every noun has a prefix. So you would say Xhosa, Isi is the prefix, but if you are talking English, then you would just say Xhosa, Isi Xhosa, number one.
Okay, got that.
No, ndiyavumelana nawe, but ndiyavumelana nawe. I can't believe somebody is agreeing with me.
There we are.
For years, I've been saying,
Okay,
don't use the prefix when you're speaking English, but I get shouted down, and people hate it that I. And so, thank you so much for saying that Isi is part of the Xhosa language, just like we don't say Français and Deutsch when we're speaking English. We don't use the
Okay.
I'm absolutely.
I've learned something. I must tell you, Solimzi, often when I've said Isi Xhosa, many people say, well, that's great that you say that. So you're giving a completely different perspective. And the bottom line is we're all learning from this. Absolutely.
Exactly.
All right.
Exactly.
Thank you for that call. Perfect. Right. I'll tell you what, let me get on to other things. I want to get your details just now, and I'm very interested in maybe a quick learning process for many of us, but some quick thoughts. What is your purpose? I mean, I assume I know, but I don't know. So I need to ask you, what is your purpose? Like your life purpose?
No, I'm sure your assumption is right, Ashraf, because it is really just to teach Xhosa in the best, most effective way, in a surprisingly personal way. I think quite often language is separate from the lives that people lead, and I try and draw people in and make the language relevant to their actual lives, everything that they're going through, their thoughts, their fears. So that's one thing. The way I teach it has to be constantly revised and beautiful. And then the other thing, my other purpose is to research the language in a way that will present the data that we are going to use to make it a more spoken second language. Because the more research you have on a language, like English has thousands of researchers. And in Xhosa, I mean, it's not even a handful.
Okay.
So that is, if any of your listeners out there are thinking of becoming researchers into the language, that would also be a great career path. And to be a great supervisor, I think I really try my best to do that. And to learn from one's mistakes always, because every day I will make a mistake with
And this point this point now, I'm going to use the word some easy you'll remember this, about people wanting to learn Xhosa, right, or be translators. Is there a career for them in that? And I'm not talking about you because you've done that, but by and large, is there a career for people who are interested in that, where they can earn a living out of doing that?
100% there is a career. If you love language, if you love your language and you want to do translation studies, if you want to, an honors student of mine, she was very good, boom, straight got a job in publishing. They get snapped up it's surprising we have so few postgraduate students when there are plenty of jobs out there. So it is one field I can say that is not saturated. You know, it still needs people.
Okay. What book are you reading right now?
I did. I mean, I read Atambile Masola's book of poetry, a Xhosa book of poetry called Ilifa, which I'm now prescribing to my second-year students, which is a wonderful book of Xhosa poetry that I would recommend to anyone, written in a very colloquial style, but also with depth. So that I'm reading. I also read John Boyne's The Echo Chamber recently about, you know, the effects of social media on a family. Very funny. I love comedy. I love my own sister, Fanula Dowling's books because they're set in South Africa, but they have universal themes and they're witty and whimsical. So I love my sister's work. I love Greg Lazarus. It's a wonderful husband and wife team who've written books set in South Africa. So I like South African novels, South African poetry. Sindhiwe Magona is always up there for me because of, and books that are translated into Xhosa and you have them in Xhosa and English. I love that.
Oh, you're a reader. There's no doubt you're a reader.
I'm a reader.
Absolutely.
I'm a reader. I read anything you put in front of me.
All right.
I'm reading Nancy Mitford's letters. They're wonderful. A dear friend gave them to me, and I love Nancy Mitford.
Oh, goodness. What about, is there, when you reflect on your life, is there a person who's made a real impact on you?
I do. My mother was incredibly free, a free thinker. I think that was great to have that person in my life. And then all my brothers and sisters, growing up in a big family where everybody had, like my brother Patrick, who had such knowledge of climate change, 30 years ago, was talking about it. So that was great. All of them, my brother Nicky in the garden, like all of them came with their special things in life as a family that we learned.
You did say it's a family of 11, right? You did say that, right?
A family of 8 children, yes, and then they all had babies.
All right, okay.
Yeah, and my partner has taught me so much too about editing and just being, more together. With the way I do things. Okay. I think everybody I learned from, and in the department, how to take criticism, because sometimes being the only English speaker in an African language department, you are there and you are going to be different. And I've learned from them so much too.
Okay, good. I'm going to ask you to give a shout out to a young person that you very, very admire, but I'll give you a minute to think about it because we'll get your answer after this.
Whether it is a CCMA referral, problems with a mechanic, or unfair blacklisting, Clientele legal plans are affordable, and you receive up to 670,000 rands worth of legal services per year. We cover civil, criminal, and labor-related matters. Our legal team will be your support 24 hours a day. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and a licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
Meet TJ, the magician. Well, he isn't quite the magician, but shame, let's call him that. The other day he tried to do that coin ear trick. Poor Owami is still in the hospital with a 5 rand coin stuck in his ear. He tried getting his pit bull, Mufasa, to levitate. Oh, he got that right. But now Mufasa is levitating through Tembisa, and somehow TJ forgot to read the section on how to get Mufasa back down. It's tough being a magician, but luckily for TJ, Britain's Got Talent Ultimate Magician will be the perfect inspiration for him to be the best magician in Tembisa. Catch Britain's Got Talent Ultimate Magician Saturdays at 7:30 p.m. only on S3. Open up. S3.
The whispers in the morning as I look in your
This February, the month of love and self-care. At SAFM, we're celebrating with you, spreading love to all. Let's embrace kindness, connection, and self-care. And as always, SAFM will continue leading the conversations that move us through love, wellness, and everything in between. This month, let's love ourselves, love each other, and keep the conversation going. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
'Cause I'm your lady, and you are my man.
Ashraf Garda on SAFM.
Right, the fireside chat with Dr. Tessa Dowling, PhD in African languages is what she has. She's a lecturer at the UCT, specifically in the language of Xhosa, not isiXhosa, just making that point. I'm a learner, yeah. Right, Tessa, I asked you about, give a shout out to a young person that you think has just got so much going for him or her.
Well, I really love Oluwethu Ngapai, a Xhosa comedian who creates TikTok material that is so funny and so out there and yet kind. So he will, laugh at people in Xhosa society that you thought you weren't allowed to laugh at in a way that is just great. It is just great. And the language that he uses, the Xhosa language, I just think he's hilarious. And I would love to... I would love people to learn Xhosa so you get an insight into the comedy that this country has. It's like the lyrics as well, like with Bongeziwe Mabandla's lyrics as well, which are so great. These up-and-coming singers and comedians.
Well, we're going to follow Oluwethu on TikTok and then maybe be inspired to learn Xhosa the way you suggested. Who, however, would you like to share a seat at the table with? You haven't yet done that with that person. Like, I'd love to meet up with that person.
I mean, Eddie Izzard.
Okay.
I love Eddie Izzard. I love, comedians. Ricky Gervais, like Loyiso Gola, like Eugene Koza, and Maggie Smith. I would have loved to have met her, having that sense of drama in me as well. I have actually sat at the table with Sindiwe Magona, and she was absolutely entertaining, so I would love to have sit at a table with her again. People who will make me laugh, people who will make me think, but mostly laugh.
Okay, wonderful. So is there a quote that inspires you? And I would allow you to have it in English or in Xhosa as well, a quick one, yeah?
Well, I think the quote that I've loved, it is an English quote, but that is, life is not a dress rehearsal. So it's that I think that so many people think, I'll do Xhosa one day. And then that day, it's the end. I think it's a Rose Tremaine quote that life is not a dress rehearsal.
But you see, I'll do it one day reflects so many of us and why we fail at many things as we don't start, right? So what is your template for success?
It's to start very small, to do everything very small. To people take on these huge projects. Even like my postgrad students, they will come with a huge project, and I say, examine that word, examine that conversation, examine that comedian. Look at the way they do it. So everything you do it small. If you're going to learn a language, say, okay, I'm going to do the greetings, and I will get them perfect in a month. I'm going to do that, and the students I've had, the second language students that I've had who've done that, have gone on to become fluent because everything they did was small and perfecting that thing, rather than thinking big, rather than thinking that you're going to impress immediately.
That's such good advice, because I think people will be inspired listening to you today, but the worst they can is like, maybe I should also try and do a PhD in an African language. And that's beyond them. What you're saying is just get the greetings right. If you just get that right, who knows what happens next. So I think it's really good advice, right? Is there a great... We've got 3 minutes to go. Is it what's your favorite story that you could share? It could be anything.
My favorite story that I could share was when I went into the village, and the piglet needed to go to another village, and I was 54 at the time, and I had to carry the piglet from one village to the other in a bag. And the grief of the piglets in the bag, the sobbing of the piglet, I mean, the whole thing wasn't that happy. And I wasn't that happy either, carting the piglet from the one village to the other village. So maybe I should have made a stand and said, I don't really want to take the piglet away from its mother. But it was the sense of, you are in a community and you are doing this, and this is different, and just do it and speak to people on the way and tell them how you feel. And I think it's that opening up of yourself that made people laugh at how I was feeling about the whole thing.
A remarkable story,
Yeah.
I would think, yeah. Now quickly, the caller we had, he wanted to know, contact details. Can you give us whether it's a number or an email address that we can share?
Yes, it's tessa.dowling@uct.ac.za.
tessa.dowling@uct.ac.za. Have I got that right?
Yes,
Yeah,
and
okay.
I'm happy to answer any queries
Okay,
about
that would be
how to
wonderful.
go about studies, anything.
That would be wonderful. Now here's a quick one. In terms of language, whichever language, right? I mean, we know why we need to learn it. Is there a quick way to learn it? Because not everybody's going to go the academic route. Because you say we're talking about being multilingual. What's the quickest way to get going?
The quickest way to get going is to learn some building blocks, which is actually the grammar, but let's not call it the grammar. It was the ums that I'm talking about. Learn like what is I, what is you, and then put them together with a verb, and to see how similar it is to English. Because just in the same way that it's different, it's also very similar. And so I would say, get a few building blocks of the language, get 5 sentences a day, learn them. Those students who are learning some words a day, some phrases a day, are doing it really, really well.
Okay.
I can see it right through in the 30 years I've taught people. Those who spoke it did that daily little.
great.
It's like doing exercise every day. You know,
Point
just a
taken.
little.
Now, I drive a project called Champion South Africa, and we often talk about how do you champion South Africa. Now, clearly you do it already. You champion South Africa by your actions. Can you, and there's a quick answer, can you feel the difference, that how you've changed society by what you do?
Only in the sense of a kind of energy in second language learning that I feel is out there, and I like to think that I had something to do with it.
Okay.
I mean, I
Wonderful.
see more companies springing up who teach Xhosa as a second language, and people caring about the beautiful textbooks they're producing. And I think maybe I had some small role to
Wow,
play in
wonderful.
giving an energy and an importance to second. Without second language speakers, we're not going to be as powerful. That's why English is so powerful.
Absolutely.
It has second language
All right.
speakers.
Our time is up, so I'll leave you with this. Just one liner. How would you like to be remembered?
I would like to be remembered most of all as kind, hardworking, and and funny. I think that not. I don't have any huge ambitions or sense
Okay.
of self apart from those 3
All right.
things.
I'm going to encourage you to say this in Xhosa at the end, to say, you can say your goodbyes and saying, Ashraf, it's a great thrill to be your guest on The National Pulse on SAFM, all in Xhosa. Go for it.
I will do that. Asho, bekumnandi gqithi ukuba nawe namhlanje ukuthetha nawe ngelwimi kwinkqubo yakho namhlanje, the Pulse, the National Pulse. Enkosi kakhulu, bekumnandi gqithi.
Ah, there we are. Your time is up, but long way we connect in the future as well. Wonderful thrill connecting with you, Dr. Tessa Dowlings, as our fireside chat guest. We'll hopefully do it again some other time. That's it. My time is up for the show. You have a wonderful weekend. Thanks for listening. Here's the news with Greg House.
Thank you again, Ashraf. Unfortunately, this bulletin will be only in English for now. In this news update, call for review of Sexual Offences Act and millions to be recovered over UIF fraud. Good evening. The Justice and Constitutional Development